Alright folks, what is going on? It is a pleasant Saturday night here in Sock's Lab. So let me get things started here, just a moment. Let's bring you guys to the webcam scene real quick here. Hello! Hi friends! It's been quite a while since my last stream. I did stream a little bit as the first...
Who would pay $10 for a pair of socks?
Well, I guess this person would. This person would indeed. Thank you for the $10 sub. Anyways, I was saying that it's been about like a couple weeks since my last stream, and I streamed the first coronavirus puzzle that Foldit released. A couple of rounds have passed now, so we are now into the current round where we start off with a fixed portion, but we'll get into that shortly. For those who don't know, my name is Patrick, also known as Socrates. I am a veteran Foldit streamer, one of the only Foldit streamers, if I may add. And so I've been playing this game for about 2 years now. It took me until I was taking biochemistry in college to really appreciate what I was actually doing in the game. And so after that, I kind of figured out how the game sort of worked, and just started streaming it. It's been a long time since then, obviously. And so nowadays, I'm in pharmacy school. Streaming this game helped me get into pharmacy school. And now with the new coronavirus puzzles out, I've been on the Foldit Discord, trying to actively help out and guide new players in playing the game, because it's a very hard game to get into. So if you guys have any questions about the science or about the game, please feel free to ask it in chat. I've got chat open on my tablet and my my OBS here as well, so feel free. Probably gonna switch to some ambient music later, but for now we'll keep the liked station on. These are my liked tracks from Pretzel. I think I've gotten all the social media stuff done and out of the way. So let me just take another sip of water here. Don't want to wear out my throat in like the first 15 minutes of the stream. Can't handle League in the vid. Like, are you lagging in League? I know I'm streaming at a higher bitrate, so if Twitch gives us transcoding, then that would be most suitable. So, alright. So, why don't we go ahead and get started here, transition over into our Foldit scene. So welcome to the coronavirus puzzle. Your puzzle might look a little different than mine because I have advanced view options toggled on. But this portion right here, this portion in light green mostly, is a chunk of the COVID-19 virus here. This is specifically one of the little spikes that stick out on the surface of the protein and binds to human cells, right? So if we can design a binder that lodges itself into this little natural binding site here, this is where it would normally hook onto a certain human protein. If we can design a binder that docks here, then we can test it in silico, right here, in simulation with Foldit, and then scientists can take a look and say, okay, this is a good design, or no, this still needs some work, and then they can choose to synthesize that design in a lab and test it in a lab to see if it works. And there's more, if you want more information on that and don't want to hear it from me, then there's always information on the game's website, which of course I will bring up right now using the command Foldit. That is the game's website right there, and you can check their website out for more information on the science and how all of it works. They've also been publishing videos on what they've been doing for the COVID-19 research as far as like their puzzle results go and how their kind of workflow goes. But I think I've summed it up quite nicely there, so hopefully that'll suffice. Anyways, there's a few tips for approaching this puzzle here. You might be wondering, okay, so like how do we actually like manipulate this and move around this, and we'll get to that. So right now in round 3, we aren't starting from scratch, right? We do have a lot of protein to work with here as I move our editable segments here. I'm also using the colors, different color scheme than default. By default, you use the default settings have a light background. I prefer dark mode in like everything, so I use dark background here down in the bottom left. And then normally your protein might look a little something like this. This color scheme is called Score Hydro, and so it'll highlight the backbone in whatever color it is scoring. So red is bad, and then green or orange is less bad. And I think by default it just defaults to Score Hydro, but I prefer turning on Score Hydro and then CPK. And you might notice the blue side chains sticking out on the spike protein. Those have polar atoms, and so those get tagged in their respective colors, and that'll help us to make hydrogen bonds later when we're trying to shoot for a high score. So, but for now, I'm going to switch back to enzyme design just so we can differentiate like what we're working with here. All this pinkish purple magenta region that's not grayed out, that's what we can edit. All right, protein's basically Foldit's basically a protein sandbox, and that's what our job is to do. These little sticky ends here, that's a cut point. We need to bring this segment close into the cut point so that we can fix that. So there's that as well. And then even though we can't edit the shape of this structure here, this is an alpha helix. It's nice and looks like a big coil, a nice little spring, I suppose. We can choose to edit the side chains sticking off of it. So say I wanted a histidine for that, then I can change it just like that. So, and then of course our green, like I said, is the spike protein. So for that, we need to pay attention on what's on the spike protein. You can see that some of this, some of the segments of the spike protein are not grayed out, and this usually means we can move it around. We just can't change what they are. So that's handy to know. Also on our view settings here, I'm gonna re-engage most of my other view settings because normally I kind of turn off all of the view settings for just cosmetics and to save on my processing power to render the game. So I'm gonna turn on the hydrogen bonds again for most things. I think I'm not gonna keep it on for helix, but definitely for loop and side chains. Showing bondable atoms also helps too. Now we can see little nodes where we can hook them up and they can form hydrogen bonds if we hook them up in the correct position and direction here. So if we look in closer here, you can see that for this round, the developers think, okay, this residue right here, this side chain is so crucial that we're gonna leave it like this. And you can't edit that because it forms a nice little hydrogen bond with this lysine here, I believe. Yep, it is a lysine. You generally like start to learn how the amino acids look like as you play this game. So if you're in a biochemistry class right now, play this game because you're gonna need to know amino acids one way or another. And playing Foldit is a great way to learn about them. So this is aspartate right here. It's kind of the I think the hydrogenless form. I forget the correct terminology here, but it's aspartic acid minus a hydrogen. So we've got two sort of negatively charged oxygens sticking out here, showing up as nodes, and that hydrogen bonds over here. So those are locked in, but again, our job is to edit the whole rest of this, and then besides this helix right here, we need to mess around with the rest of the protein that the developers have given us to make a design of our own. In fact, I think I'm gonna go for the helix meta, starting up this puzzle here because let's be honest, helices are OP. They are very, very stable. They are frequently used secondary structures in protein design, and designing sheets right now might be a little bit too hard. I know that I've been hearing complaints on the Foldit forums here that blueprint mode is not behaving properly as far as like dragging the building blocks in because we have these weird cut points here. So I think my approach for this puzzle is going to involve just dragging things around from scratch, really, and then using recipes to kind of clean up my fold later on. So, anyways, again, if you guys have any questions or if you just want to chat about something, feel free. I'm not going to be chatting about the game the entire time. This is also my time to relax as well. It's my in-between from classes and work, which I had earlier this morning, which is why I missed the Foldit dev stream earlier. That was kind of a shame. I know that a seasoned veteran, Susume, was chatting it up with, I presume it was Josh, who was still doing the streams, since I'm not sure if anyone else on the Foldit team knows how to properly operate OBS. Always blows your mind, huh? Me playing this game. I mean, it blows my mind too sometimes, but, you know, at the end of the day, my job is still to make this game presentable, right? And to have fun with this game more than I normally would, right? So streaming it definitely helps break the monotony and whatnot. Also, it's kind of warm in this room right now, so I'm gonna take my robe off. As you can see, no lab coat required for this laboratory. I still have my goggles, though, my splash goggles, over here. Let me just not tangle my wires here. I could still totally wear my goggles in here, just for quote-unquote lab safety. I can also bring my robe up to my chair. We're getting comfy. Self-quarantine does not have to mean self-isolation, because we have the wonders of the internet. Put my goggles down here on my neck. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? Give me 1 second here. There is someone that I forgot to message regarding this stream. Second here. Do I want this song? Let's... Oh, let me skip to the next one. There we go. Alright. So let's start off here. We also have some side objectives here that'll help us score some more points. I know it's keeping track of how many amino acids that we're using, and then it's also keeping track of whether or not we form a stable core. So I'll get into that later, but what we want to do is bury some of the orange residues inside when we have it in Hydro View. We want to bury the orange side chains on the inside, so that they can stick together and form a nice stable core. Let's see. It's also tracking some ideality, so we don't want to like contort our backbone too much. And then I think it's also tracking whether or not we're using certain side chains on some of our secondary structures. It depends, though. It depends. So, anyways. Let's go back. You know what? Yeah, let's keep it back on enzyme design until we're messing with hydrophobics and whatnot. So I'm gonna clear out my interface here. I'm gonna enter structure mode. You can do this either by just going down into modes and clicking structure mode, or you can just hit the 2 key on your keyboard. I really gotta figure out the keyboard overlay thing where you can make it so that your key presses get highlighted on screen. I'm going to right click, hit assign helix, and this means that the game wants to highlight this as a helix, and we can assign it as such. It doesn't look like one now, but you'll see what I'm doing in just a second here. I want to keep a few residues here just as like a little loose chain so that we can connect it back up here. So there's one, I think that's the connection to the second one, 3, 4. I don't want to go too much longer than that, because long loops, in fact I might clear out one more residue there. Long loops actually aren't as stable. Like they're very hard to replicate. You usually want all of your proteins in secondary structures for the most part. Obviously we have some exceptions here with the coronavirus protein here, so I think this one's like 4 or 5 segments long, from like a little half helix to a sheet. So there's that. And then let's go assign the helix for the other side here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 residues. Actually, we have to count the other end here, this residue here. So we'll go 1, 2, and then that's the third. So, and then assign this one as a helix. You just right click to bring up the menu, and then you hold left click and drag to reassign it. You can also do it from the blueprint menu as well. It's kind of hard to figure out where you're looking at in the blueprint menu, unless of course you're using selection interface, in which case you can see things highlighted as you select it. I don't like to spend too much time in selection interface though, because it changes up like all the windows, and I don't like it, personally speaking. So let me just switch back to normal mode here. You can either switch back to normal mode by hitting like one of the design mode keys, so like 4 on your keyboard, or if you just go into the menu, you click here, and then you bring up main. That toggles it on and off, and then you can go back to original interface over here. So let's see. Oh, we got some ambient music already, not bad. Some more water here so I don't wear out my voice. So back in pull mode, we're still constructing our rough draft here of our protein. I'm gonna right click one of our helix segments and then hit ideal SS, and that will idealize the secondary structure to a helix or whatever it is tagged as. So if you tag it as a sheet, it'll like reform those structures to form a sheet. And then if we have it as a helix, it'll reform those structures to make a helix. Simple as that. And then now that we have these helices, we can sort of use the move tool by just left clicking on any segment here, and we can left click and drag to sort of rotate it in place, or use this arrow to manipulate it that way, or we can right click and hold to pan it. So let's zoom in here. Camera controls are a little bit tricky in this game too. They do take some getting used to. I do have a video up on YouTube of me speedrunning the tutorial puzzles and doing a breakdown of the controls there. So if you want to check that out, feel free. I can link that to you in chat if you would like. And we're just going to drag our helices closer to where we want them. And then we want to help this bent helix here settle into the groove. And so, in fact, I think I'm going to take advantage of this a little bit and maybe make it so that we go over here. I want to bend this helix a little bit, but I don't want it to lose its kind of like sort of perfect shape, so I'm going to be taking some steps to do that in just a second, but I want it to sort of bend over and around, and I want this helix to do the same. Obviously they are like completely straight helices right now, so we have to get to that eventually. So for now, I'm just going to drag it and take my time with it. Again, we're just rough drafting, we can still make mistakes here. Let's turn on clashes just so I know whether or not I'm moving things too close. I should probably shake these things loose. Just hit S on your keyboard to use the shake tool, and that'll go through and reposition all of the side chains as best as possible to resolve clashes and to optimize score. The game might lag while you're doing this, and that's alright. That's alright. Let's see. So now that we did that, let's see, I think it redid this sidechain here. Hold on. I think there's a hotkey for this. If you hit A. Wait, what mode am I in? Pull mode. There we go. I think the radial menu is... Oh, no, it's not. Okay, there we go. Pick side chains. So I want something that will line up so that we get a hydrogen bond here. Danganronpa pink. Some would say magenta. So I want maybe something like that. Still not quite there. Let me hit stop, and then let's wiggle side chains here. Wiggle will help settle things in. There we go. Now that's hydrogen bonding, and now we can see that this tyrosine here has got its hydrogen pointing towards the red node. It's a purple node since this is actually an oxygen and it can accept another hydrogen bond from this angle. The red spiky things, those indicate clashes. That means the protein is too close. Since this is a simulation, right? The game knows whether or not like things are too close because in real life two things can't exist in the same space at the same time. So whereas in here, like, we could totally have it like clipping into it, and then now we get a lot more clashes. So clashes get you a score penalty and also appear as these spiked balls here. But we're still rough drafting, so it's fine. We can fix those later. In fact, I'm going to rotate this a little bit more. And then wrap this around. Maybe that's too extreme of an angle. Let's go with that. And also, let's make sure that this is facing the right way. I want it so that this end right here, I guess it's hard to see if I position it like that. I want this end to be somewhat facing over this way so that these three residues can link up and not be too far away from each other. In fact, I'm gonna do a little bit more there. I'm not gonna be able to take advantage as much of the natural binding groove over here, but we've already got a binding groove protein here, so I guess it's better to focus on getting a protein that'll fold on its own into a stable protein. So let's go ahead and do the same for this helix here. Just stare down the center of it and use our axes tools to move things about. You may be wondering, does this game have sound? I personally keep it muted. I'm not a big fan of the sound effects in this game. But the dev team is of course focused on both making the game and making the science for the game as well, so I don't blame them. Okay, at this point, I think I might want to use some of the strategies that I wanted to try out. Is this residue mutatable? It is, so we can change what this residue here is. So we can't use serine or threonine though, so that was what I was thinking we could use, because I wanted to see if we can satisfy this other node. Question is how. We'll figure that out in a second. Can't mutate those. Looks like these are crucial. But we do have some unsatisfied polars here. I wonder if we could get sneak in a tyrosine here, maybe, in another design. Just so we get that purple node with the both donor and acceptor, so that we have, let's see, if tyrosine gets attacked at this angle, it could donate from here. Or a serine. A serine would work too. Just as long as we have one of these purple nodes. Okay. So far, so good. Also, if you guys notice at the top here, there is a ranking system. There is a leaderboard as well. And so, depending on how stable your fold is, you'll get points for it, and you'll get bonus points for the objectives. Let's see here. I need 12 more core residues. I think we'll get more once we start wrapping this around. I just wanted to turn on the core filter here, just so we know what the game is considering as buried inside the protein core. Also, all of these sidechains here, these are just placeholders. I believe this is like the average sized sidechain here. This is isoleucine, if I'm not mistaken, and I am not. and so those placeholders just kind of sit there. So I'm just checking on the group chat here. Also, I love this song. By the way, I'm assuming since you guys aren't complaining about the sound is just fine. I know that some people's like music can get obnoxious or something like that, or sometimes you can't even hear the music at all. So that's a travesty if you ask me. Let us... First off, I want to anchor this real quick. So I'm gonna pull on this while freezing this segment, and that'll have the bands here get dragged over. Looks like I do need to give it a little bit more room here, since I think this is forming an awkward angle. And so... maybe a little bit closer there. And then I can use rubber bands to like tie this down and pull it. Let's see. Pull on that a little bit closer. This is still a little too far for my tastes here. Also, I need to change the settings on my tablet to like not go to sleep. I'm also using my tablet to like keep track of chat, and so it's kind of annoying when this thing goes to sleep. Screen timeout, 30 minutes. There we go. Actually, maybe in the other developer options, since I have an Android tablet. Stay awake. There we go. Okay. I'll tell you guys, it is a source of non-stop, like, I wouldn't say anxiety, although that definitely comes out, but a source of non-stop action when you're in the broadcaster seat. And so to all the teachers right now who are like doing like online classes because of COVID-19, I hear you guys, right? Like I can relate, and as someone who has a lot of experience doing this, feel free to reach out. Yes, I did say what the spiky boys were. Those indicate whether or not you are having stuff like elements of your protein too close. Like in real life, we wouldn't have things clip into each other like this, right? And so we get a lot more clashes indicated by these spike balls. So that's all it is. They also incur a score penalty. Let's see. Why did they have us... Or, let's see. I wish they could have given us a little bit more residues to work with, or at least have it come off at a better angle here, because I'm having a little trouble and frustration getting this to move over. I think we're going to have to abandon binding over here, and then just focus on binding for here, which also means we're probably going to have to ignore these nodes down here. That's fine. Such is the point of playing this game, because we are actually doing science. We have to literally experiment. You ever heard of labbing in fighting games? Well, this is literal labbing. One could say to get on my level. Push that together. Obviously we're getting a little bit closer, but there are ways to resolve these without having wiggle, like make things go flying everywhere. So like if I hit wiggle all right now, game's probably going to try to freak out a little bit and just contort my protein into like something unrecognizable, and we don't really want that, so we'll just hit Control Z and undo that and fix it from there. Might have to give up another helix residue here. Actually, this is getting close enough to the point where I don't mind it as much. I know it's going to tag up as a backbone issue, I think. Or not? Maybe not. Well, I guess it is showing up as non-ideal, so we'll fix that later. And I think if once we start picking residues, then that'll resolve itself. Over here, let's do the same thing. Let's unfreeze our protein and then freeze that segment. Let me let that auto-resolve. Actually, I'm gonna hit wiggle as well, see if that helps things along. We're not gonna completely fix it, but we will make a sort of temporary bridge that can be fixed later on. The more stable we get it now, the less stabilization that we have to do later. Let's see. Local wiggle on this seems to have resolved that too, so that'll clear up some clashes. Okay, so now what I plan on doing is a little bit hard for the normal interface. What I want to do is use recipes. Recipes are scripts made by players. They're coded in the programming language Lua. I'm not a coder myself, but I at least know some of what the player-made recipes do, and so I keep a cookbook, if you will, of popular recipes here. I don't know if they're all up to date, but you can usually still get away with using an out-of-date recipe. And then you can find more recipes on the game's website. So like if you want to get more recipes, I think it's one of these buttons. Let's see. Yeah, these folders right here. If you click on that, you can see the publicly shared recipes. And you can find out, you can browse through, see what they do. Not all of them kind of have a description of what they do in the description, which I find a little bit annoying. But I do have some of the most popular recipes from when I actively played here, and I generally know what they do. Some of them, they'll keep going and improving your score until you tell them to stop. Through different ways. Some of them scan the protein for low scoring segments, and I'll show these off later as well, just so you can see what I mean. Some of these use just completely random algorithms and try to like nudge the protein so that wiggle will get better results. But for now, since we're still hand folding, I want to use a recipe called zero length bands, and then let's see, I want it to band specific portions of our protein. I guess I can do this in regular interface as well, since that's what most people are going to be using rather than selection interface. With selection interface enabled, I can select parts of the protein here, just like that. But the control scheme also slightly changes too, so it's a little annoying in my opinion. You can also like select things by like, let's see, I think it was Control Shift Click, and select a sort of radius like that. Let's see. But control clicking secondary structures will add this entire thing here. And this is easier to do in selection interface. So I want it to band the backbone, and strength 3 is fine. And then I'm gonna have it do selected only. We can also do this with frozen residues, but I don't know if it'll work. Let's give it a shot actually. Let's go back to your original interface and freeze our helices just by shift double clicking. It's the quickest way to do that. And then hit zero length bands. Go to frozen only. Backbone. And then what that will do is it'll create rubber bands for each and every segment on the helices, anchoring it in place. And these are soft anchors, by the way. The only time it's like hard anchored in place is if you freeze it as well, but we're gonna unfreeze it after this is done. The game's gonna lag a little bit, that's fine. So we'll just wait for it to finish its job here. By the way, guys, I'm curious, like, how are you guys spending your time at home and with social distancing? Me, obviously, I'm playing this game and streaming and keeping on top of social media, so there's that. Got a lot of things to study too, and looks like it's also banding the locked portion of the puzzle, which is quite unfortunate. So I'm gonna stop it there because I don't actually need the rubber bands here. These will stay in place. So as it turns out, it's better to do it in the selection interface. I guess I should have probably like set non-frozen. Maybe that'll help it. Let's see. You've been playing the MapleStory Classic server. I think yeah. I've been seeing your status on Discord saying that for a while. All right, let's try this again, but this time maybe not as lengthy. So 0 length bands selected only. Hopefully this works. Let my CPU churn out for a little bit. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to authorize more Franker Phase Z emotes. I know that some people were asking about that last stream. Alright, still hasn't finished yet. Alright, that's finally done. Did it do it correctly? It might not have. That's a little annoying. Hold on, let's see. Oh no, it did. And why was this tagged as well? I'm slightly miffed, but that's okay. We can just get rid of these. I don't actually care how this chain sort of ends up. In fact, we'll drag and delete these ones here. You can just delete things, delete the bands by just clicking in the middle, just left clicking. Alright, that should work now. Alright, so now what I wanted to do was to make this wrap downwards. So I was gonna use a manually placed rubber band over here. This should do the trick. And then we'll make it stronger as well since it has to fight the rest of the rubber bands, but I want it to be 5 strength. So hold on, let's change it so that the slider only goes from like 1 to, or like to half to 150%, but I want it to be 5. Just perfectly like that, so we'll make use of that. I also want this to wrap closer. I think I'll make that one just a 3 strength one. You can hold right click to bring up that menu, and then release it on the segment that you want. And so there we go. Alright, and then now if we hit wiggle, this should, the rubber bands that we put down earlier using 0 length bands should attempt to keep things in place while we sort of contort this. Let's see, I think I wanted to maybe remove the bands up here. In fact, I might 0 length band again, except only band certain segments. So let's go back into selection mode. I'm going to remove all bands and go back into selection mode here. I am going to upload this to YouTube, by the way, so this is why I'm just kind of going over like my thought process for literally everything, because there are inevitably some people that aren't going to make it, and so I want to make sure that they have a good insight as to what's going through my mind as well. want to keep, oops. No, not reset. Control Y. Control Z and Control Y are a couple of your best friends in this game, as most editors would probably attest. Let's see. Let's Control click to add this entire helix, and then do that, and then I guess we could also sphere select, but let's see. Let's do one helix at a time. So let's go from here to about here is where I want it to start wrapping. So backbone only, band only helices, and band selected only, with 3 strength bands. Wait for that to churn through. Is Moobot working? I swear that I have Foldit as, or like the Foldit message as on a timer. Default timer. Foldit. Oh, that's done. So let's wrap around to the other side here. And then I think around here is where I want it to start coiling. So we'll go ahead and use 0 length bands, and helices, and band selected. And that should lag the game for just a smidge. Let's see. Okay, it should be posting every 5 minutes. Also, thanks, shoutouts to those of you who've been promoting me on social media as well. I know I don't have the biggest social media presence, so everything helps. Alright, that should be properly banded now. Go back into the regular interface here. So now... Okay, yeah, that looks good. Now we have rubber bands in the places that I want them to be. And then I can start dragging these over. Let's drag from the complete opposite end here to where I want them to be. I need them to be 5 strength bands. And then the rest should follow. Maybe I should make some more rubber bands to reinforce the helix bonds here, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't think this one needs as much help. In fact, I think Wiggle's gonna do the job on that one, so I think I just need that one. Let me turn on helix bonds. And then start making some of these. So that should go there, that should go there. These rubber bands can be quite finicky. Also, it's worth noting that rubber bands in general only care about distance. They don't necessarily care about like orientation. And so if you want something to be like oriented a certain way in space, then you need to make sure that it has multiple rubber bands to sort of connect up the reference points, if that makes sense. And if you want something to hold its shape, you would use freeze along with the rubber bands. Okay, let's try wiggling with that. Oh, actually, I'm not going to wiggle at full power here. In fact, I'm going to bring up the clashing importance menu down here. This controls how much the game pays attention to clashing while it runs things like wiggle or shake. And so if you turn it down, the game's going to allow the protein to clip into itself a little bit more, and that allows for a little bit more freedom as far as like what it's allowed to move to. So we'll just deal with that. We'll go at a third clashing importance. That's pulling quite strongly. I think that pulled a little too strong there. Let's crank it down to maybe half, 2.5. since we are wiggling here, it's gonna do a lot of work. I might dare say we should remove the rest of the bands here, because I was worried that it was gonna fly out and release from its position here, but it doesn't seem to be flying out as much since I turned down the clashing importance. So now we're starting to coalesce a nice little triple helix here, and that is quite nice. I should also check how long these helices are. Helices tend to be around 18 residues long, just commonly speaking, not always, but it's good practice to kind of mimic nature. So that's 1, 2, actually hold on, I have a better way of counting this. Let's use blueprint and then let's find the last residue here so we can count from there. Okay, so this portion right here, I should probably be in selection interface for this. This portion right here corresponds to that helix. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So if we wanted to, I guess we could cut off the helix there. If we wanted to go stick with the 18 residue rule hard and fast. But we're not gonna do that. I think since we have an extra long helix that's it's locked out, that means the developers intended for this, so we'll go with that for now. I mean, they're grading other solutions that are just completely from scratch right now, so it's nice that we get some sort of guidance as well, especially with something as critical as the binding site. So we'll go with that for now. I'd imagine the triple helix is probably going to be in the vast majority of solutions for this puzzle, just because it's so easy to put together. And then let's just check the length over here too. This corresponds over here. So yeah, there we go. That should stretch all the way there, and that it does. Alright, we can get rid of that for now. Drag this over here. The worms? Are you talking about like the worm on a string sort of thing? Well, you can make your own protein worm on a strings, I suppose. Let's see. How much more residues do we need in the core? Oh, just one. Okay, so all these green ones, they're like halfway between orange and blue, and so if we play our cards right, we can get the game to consider it as a core residue. Make your molecules dance. I mean, they sort of dance with wiggle, although it kind of helps when the game isn't, you know, super laggy. This is still coming up as a backbone ideality issue. We can fix that later. Let's see. Do I want to make that? Do I want to drag that around there? See, it's very hard to sort of work with this sometimes. So I think we need to. You know what? Let's focus on the protein in isolation. Let's make sure that we make a good core, and maybe not worry so much about about creating extra binding contact. Because as much as I would love to have like more protein to work with and like maybe bind the groove over here with like an extra helix, we don't have that luxury, and so that's going to be a challenge. Some veterans that are watching this right now might be thinking like, when is he going to choose to mutate? And I think right about now is when I want to do so. This is always like something that comes up for me when I'm doing this style of blindfolding. Pun not intended. Is when I choose to mutate residues, because once you hit mutate, you're no longer using these placeholder isoleucines. You're using side chains that further lock in the position that that you're going for. Because like shake and wiggle, which is like your two main tools for gaining score, they go off of whatever your protein is currently shaped like, right? So it can't explore all of the possibility spaces at the same time. Like there's just not enough time and not enough processing power to do that. And so the way that Foldit works is that we can handfold, sort of rough drafts and visually valid structures here, and then let the computer take over. And therein lies sort of the beauty in the design. Of course, you can go fully automated and help out coronavirus research by things such as folding at home or Rosetta at home. It should be noted that folding at home is not affiliated with Foldit, and it does not use the Rosetta engine. But Rosetta at home does use the Rosetta engine and is sometimes, or so I'm told, sometimes used to help analyze Foldit puzzles. I think. Don't quote me on that. Also, normally this should be lining up properly as a full helix, but something's going on in the backbone here, and I'm not getting too much information from these bondable atoms. So let's go into stick view, where we can really see what the backbone looks like. And now, as you can see, things look kind of weird. It's no longer like cartoon tagged, like we can't tell whether it's considered a helix just off the bat, so we need to switch between. But also it can help us to switch the color scheme too. So I'm gonna go with Score Hydro. I think I might also use Trace Tube. Yeah, there we go. Although we can't see the backbone atoms now, so much for that. Sphere. Okay. But even if we like go over here, like you can see that helical turning, and it looks quite cool. Alright, let's center the camera around our workspace here. So, switch between viewpoints. Okay, so this is not properly, this is bonding to here instead of up there, looks like. Yeah, it looks like this is like overturning maybe. So if I could fix that, then that could be a little better. So from here to here, change band length to 2. I think it's 2 even. The default band length works great for like just in between backbone carbons, or like the main backbone segments, but when we're looking at hydrogen bonds, we typically want them to be a length of 2. Let's use a 3 strength band, and let's local wiggle. Okay, it doesn't do anything like that. What's the current distance between them? We can find this out by just changing the band length to use current, and it looks like it's 3.4. So that's interesting. Take a look at the helix going downwards here. Switch back to cartoon view just so I can get a perspective here. Maybe oh, okay, it skipped one over here. That's what I'm looking for. I was looking for like the place where it skipped a residue here. So I need this one to bond up with this one. Let's change strength. Let's change it to 4. Let's use stronger bands. And we need to disconnect these and connect this one, the next oxygen on the backbone. And we can check our work later as well by going back into cartoon view. So currently it's a length of 4, so we want to shorten that to 2. If you're just joining us, by the way, this is Foldit. It is a free-to-play citizen science game all about folding proteins together. And we have a puzzle here that helps contribute to scientific research on the coronavirus, COVID-19, as it were. So if you want to help contribute to real science while you're self-quarantining and social distancing, go check out Foldit. The link will be brought up in chat once you type !Foldit in chat. Alright, beautiful. I think we can see our proper hydrogen bonds reestablishing there. And so that our helix is now fixed. For now. And then this looks like a better secondary structure to sort of lock in. Let me wiggle this locally real quick just to see if we can resolve this ideality issue. Let me freeze it right there, and then I'm going to switch to medium wiggle power just so I can force some ideality calculations in there. Let's see. Let's try that. Because it messes with our helix a little bit, but it looks like our helix bonds are intact. Now it looks a little wonky. Let's try and local wiggle it. Let our game lose frames in the process. At least we're not dropping frames. That is wonderful. I am so glad that my internet has been reinstated. Let's go back to auto. I don't want to go full power on wiggling just yet, since I'm doing a lot of hand folding here. Now you might ask, like, what's the current metagame of Foldit look like? And the general workflow of Foldit is you have this early game where you're just kind of drafting out ideas, and then you kind of settle in and start to stabilize your idea, and then mid game to late game you start to use recipes to automate the process of finding score opportunities. And typically you can let Foldit run while you're doing something else or playing in a different game. It is very CPU intensive, so if you're streaming like me, you're going to turn your computer into a space heater. So if it is very cold where you live and you're looking for a way to use your energy semi-efficiently, then I recommend playing Foldit or using Rosetta at home. And also, even if your scoring solution doesn't get the best score, you can still hit send to scientists to manually send it to the scientists for review, and they'll take a look at it. If they don't choose to synthesize it, no hard feelings, but they also use data from lower scoring solutions as benchmarking, right? So they want to check if Foldit is a valid model, and so if something doesn't look right and it shouldn't score like that, then they want to check that, and they want to check the math. And so if they see any receipt, or like if they see any anomalies, then they can, so to speak, check the receipts, Alright, I think at this point I'm going to mutate, and I'm going to mutate on the lower clashing importance as well. This allows more degrees of freedom for the game to take when picking residues, and then hopefully in our objectives panel here we can get enough residues in the core for our full core existence bonus. And then I'm going to open the puzzle page just by clicking on the title up here. And look at the comments, because usually you can see what the max bonuses are. So let's see, 550, 2400. We have 2 non-idle loops. Let's tag those real quick. And then secondary structure design, so we're getting max points from those. So it looks like we're having issues at the connection points, which I think I think everyone's losing points on this, so I think I'm not as concerned. I think we're good. So yeah, that'll be at their discretion. Now, note, while we have the core existence filter enabled and like that, it's worth noting that also Mutate's already done with its first pass, so it's still trying out different things. Maybe we might score a little differently. It's worth noting that it tags the color of the side chains, not necessarily whether it's hydrophobic or hydrophilic, but whether or not it considers it like properly buried or forming part of the protein core. So this lysine right here, this big long boy, it's not a hydrophobic residue, it's quite hydrophilic because of its nitrogen tail there, but it's being tagged as orange since the game considers it forming the proper core. Whereas these true blue residues out here, these are sticking out into the water surrounding this simulated protein. So let's stop mutate here. I think it's picked a quite decent selection of residues. I think it's also picked different residues down here. So we might have lost some of our edits. They might have come out in the wash, so to speak. Like for example, this guy down here, this is replacing it with a tryptophan, this big boy tryptophan. You might know tryptophan as a big constituent of your Thanksgiving turkey, among other amino acids inside the good source of protein. And since it has like this sort of double ring structure, it actually acts as a precursor for some molecules that your body makes to make you feel a little sleepy. Which, if you're feeling a little sleepy watching this, first off, I apologize. Second, I hope you had a very, very well-fed dinner. Because it is okay to sleep. Sleep is something that we probably don't get enough of anyways, and so if watching Foldit is a sleep aid, then I guess I can see the silver lining in that. Alright, so now that Mutate's picked residues for us, we can go in and edit this ourselves. Like, we can change this tryptophan back into the aspartate that it started as. Although I think it's this aspartate that was there? I don't know. I keep forgetting. Although there's the histidine, so I think that was what it started out as. But I'll keep it as tryptophan for now, since the game thinks that it's filling space, and so I guess that's worth more points. And the game does the math for you. Of course, it's up to you whether or not you visually agree. This clash down here, I don't think we can do much about as well, since the residues are locked. And yeah, I'm liking this core here. And we can hit mutate again and refresh the selections at full clashing importance, so that we get more stringent on what the game picks. But for now, let's hit wiggle, see what happens. The game should settle in our protein here. It's even forming more hydrogen bonds, which is good. That'll help stabilize things, although this is a lysine, so I don't expect this to actually form. Lysine tends to be long, floppy, and random, so it's not really going to hold one position for too long. But if it does form hydrogen bonds, then so be it. That's convenient. Alright, when you see the counter up here, like ticking upwards really fast, it's right next to the camera here, if you're not seeing, then that means that it's doing a lot more passes, and since the score's not going up, it means it's stuck. So Wiggle and Shake can't do it alone. Recipes can't do it alone. Again, like, you have to fold something pretty decent first, since Foldit is not a fully algorithmic game. We could do fully algorithmic, but the thing is that Foldit came about because of a thing called Rosetta at Home, and it's basically, it's still around and being used. It's using your spare processing power to like automatically fold proteins together. But people started looking at the screensaver being like, yo, why is the game, why is this program like wasting times on poses that look absolutely ridiculous? Like, maybe it's something like that, and it's like running through that, when, you know, we could just position this here and start from there. And so the Foldit developers, or I guess the would-be Foldit developers, just kind of looked at each other, I'd imagine. Haven't confirmed this for myself, but they probably just looked at each other and be like, okay, why don't you make it then? And so they essentially, I'm told that Foldit is essentially Rosetta with a GUI slapped onto it. And so they just added buttons for users to interact, and Foldit was made. And we've made some pretty cool stuff ever since. By the way, Foldit is not only it is not only for coronavirus. This is a game that's been ongoing for about 10 years now. Can you believe it? And it's tackled many different problems, including one ongoing puzzle series is called the Aflatoxin Challenge. It's kind of similar in the sense that we are redesigning proteins. In that one, we're redesigning an enzyme that could hopefully break down a cancer-causing toxin that fungus make, and it actually wreaks havoc on our food supply. So anyways, I'm going to turn the clashing importance up just a little bit and then wiggle again. And that should see our scores rise even further as the game resettles things, taking into account the more stringent clashing requirements. We're not getting any overt clashes right now, but we do want to sort of tighten up our requirements here. So now it's stabilized again. I'll hit stop so that we can have an undo point, and then we'll go up to full power. And let that settle in as well. Looks like it's gonna stabilize really quickly here. No? Oh yeah, there. It has stabilized. I'm not gonna mutate just yet. I'm gonna see how far I can go with the current selection of side chains here. By the way, I use side chains, segments, and residues interchangeably, but if I refer to a side chain, it is gonna directly reference like the stuff sticking out from the backbone, but sometimes I'll say residue and segment to refer to the backbone rather than a side chain. So, but each like piece of the backbone has a side chain associated with it. All right, Shake has done 3 passes. Generally, you want to stop Shake and mutate after 1 pass, so when the counter hits 2, and then wiggle when the counter is ticking up rapidly. And you can see how long each operation is taking in the timer up there. And then you could hit escape or just click on stop up there, or click on the tool again. So we're at full power, we've shaken, and then I think we need to wiggle once more, since sometimes, oopsies, sometimes shaking introduces structural changes that wiggle hasn't accounted for yet. And so just repeating the shake and wiggle process until it's like fully truly stabilized is one way to help maximize your score. Another way is to do the same but on medium wiggle power, because it forces ideality calculations into its algorithm. And what we refer to when we say ideality, if your fold is losing a bunch of score to ideality, like you mouse over, you hit tab, you see your segment information on the right here, and I'll drag it up here so you guys can see, and then it gives you a score breakdown, and then it's like, oh, ideality, I'm losing a lot of points for that, what's going on? Ideality refers to the sort of intermolecule or interatom bond angles, right? These proteins, they're all made of atoms, right? And they're all bonded together. And then the angles that they make with each other can't be strained too much, right? Otherwise, you're going to break the stick in half, so to speak. And so the game checks for that by introducing like an ideality angle calculation, and will reflect that in your score. So like I said, just still continuing to do what we're doing, and I think we've settled in on a good point here. We're not getting much points from our gains here. So at this point, I'm gonna mutate. Like one thing about Foldit is that we're exploring possibility spaces, but like, as we like get higher and higher in the score, like the possibility space that we're exploring also narrows, right? And so sometimes to find a better score, we have to like jostle the protein a little bit, or really dynamically change like a really crappily scoring protein or part of the protein to find new solutions. So keep that in mind. It's a abstract concept to get, but if you understand it, then you can kind of be more efficient in the way that you play Foldit. Maybe you start running multiple clients at once, saying, okay, I'm going to try this solution and this solution concurrently, and run recipes and overheat my computer. So, let's see, mutate is done, so let's wiggle up, see if we can increase our PB here, as speedrunners would love to reference it. It looks like we can't. So you might think we've stabilized here, but I think not. So I'm gonna bring the clashing importance all the way down to just 1%. So I'll type in 0.01, and I'm gonna hit wiggle. And so, like I said earlier, when I was talking about clashing importance, now we're telling the game, all right, you almost don't have to worry about clashes at all. Like get cozy, get snug. And now you can see we've got a lot of clashes here. But in doing so, we've sort of changed the shape of the protein such that we might actually get something different when we wiggle back up, other than 13,449. Which, by the way, top 100. Just gonna put that out there. Just gonna put that out there. Also, you know, personal best is what I meant by PB, not peanut butter. All right. So wiggle has stabilized. Let's save that undo point, and then let's go up to point. Sometimes I like to be binary, bring back the clashing importance up in binary steps. So I'll just double it, go to 2. As you can see, we're still in the negatives up here since I've got advanced GUI turned on. You can see how much in the hole our score is. So let's wiggle back up here. So I need to check something on my stream things. Preferences, channel. Okay, mature content is off. Sometimes I do stream like games like Call of Duty and stuff, and I turn on the mature filter for those, but when I'm streaming Foldit, I like to keep it off because, you know, Foldit is science. It should be accessible. Now I've been talking for a lot here, and if you adore the sound of my beautiful voice, then I appreciate that. But as always, if you have any questions, or if you want to chat about anything else, then feel free to bring it up, and we'll maybe have a little conversation about it. By all means. All right. Stabilizing now, but we still have a few visible clashes here, so I want to eliminate those before I really make some leaps and bounds. Okay, we're in 11,000s now, so I think it's safe to really go hard here. Let's go 0.25. And we can change the clashing importance while we're wiggling as well. And folks, if you've been watching for this this hour and a half, like you've seen the process and my thought process behind my folding here from start to almost finish here. I mean, truly finished is after the recipes have done their job, but you know, we'll get to that. All right, so we'll let wiggle sort of do its thing, and we got something different. We got a few points off. Let's shake and make sure that we're getting all the points that we can. Again, we might find some hidden gains here and there. It's also worth there are different strategies. Like you could go all the way down and then shake wiggle mutate at the same clashing importance, or you can switch it up. You can allow more degrees of freedom by lowering the clashing importance for like shake, wiggle, or mutate, and then wiggling at say full power, and treating it that way. That is also a valid strategy as well, and might lead to some more discoveries. So it looks like we've detected some changes here. Stabilized. Very nice point gains there. Bring things a little bit closer again, and then crank it up to full. And I also want to keep an eye on my objectives here, because I want to keep an eye on the core existence filter. If we miss one core residue, then like that's a problem. We're losing out on about 100 points there, and that could make or break the difference here. So it looks like we didn't get as much here. Let's try a different wiggle up strategy. This can be recipe automated, by the way. It's actually a technique called fusing, where you bring the clashing importance down low and then you gradually ratchet it back up. And it is such a popular strategy in Foldit that it actually became the subject of one of Foldit's many scientific papers. So imagine that. Metagaming turned like actual labbing. And into like a research paper and into a research journal. Like that right there blows my mind already. Might take a few tries, or it might not be, and like that might truly be our like most stable score there. Like probably because we're losing points to core existence here. Which, if I'm being completely honest, it's probably. Let's see, was it that lysine that was being counted as core? Yeah. Now that lysine, it's not as scrunched up, and it's kind of lengthened itself. So I guess it's in the green zone, which makes sense. Like or maybe it was this one. No, this was the lysine. Or no, that's a proline. Never mind. I thought it was like contorted upon itself, but proline is like one of the only amino acids that like has a side chain that loops back around on itself and actually like bonds with itself, and it makes a ring on the backbone. Alright, hold on. Let's restore our solution. You can hit I on your keyboard to restore credit best, which is the best score that you are getting credit for. You can also hit tracks, and this is one of the ways to do multiple solutions. You can like save and load your solutions, or you can hit tracks and kind of go on branching paths with your solutions here. Me, I just like to work on single track to keep it simple and approachable whenever I'm streaming, and just in general, just since I'm pretty busy and I don't always have time to play this game. So, let's see. You know, while we're at this idealized solution, I'm gonna go back down to let's say 10 clashing importance. 10%, and I'm gonna mutate at 10 and see if the amino acids change, and they will, and then we're gonna do our typical score refinement, see if we can get there. Right now I still want to focus on showcasing a lot of the hand folding score refinement techniques, so that you kind of get an idea of what could be recipe automated. And what goes into some of these recipes as well. Let's see, I turned on YouTube safe mode, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Just want to make sure that when I upload this to YouTube later that the music doesn't get copyright claimed, and that would be kind of a problem. Oh, there's something I actually forgot to run. Although it might be a little slow, but I think this is usually something that I run during hand folding anyways. Let's wait until this this current cycle finishes. So once mutate is done, and it looks like it is, let's do our usual score refinements. We'll bring the clashing importance up to 25 and then taper up. Till 13,000. Alright, taper up again. Looks like we've lost a little bit of core. We might get it back, but we'll see. Yeah, looks like we're losing core on that. Let's hit shake again just to see if we can get something to go back in. And by the way, the core existence objective here, that is mainly to help us as far as our protein design is concerned. So by putting enough residues in the core here, we enable ourselves to have a protein that folds together just into its structure already, right? like into the structure that we propose, independent of the spike protein. We need it to fold together first and hold its shape first before it floats around and finds the spike protein. Alright, let's see. Did Shake find anything? I don't think it did. Alright, let's go back to our best scoring solution. Let's take a look at it here. So the lysine over here is getting us our full core bonus, but I don't think it's like supposed to be there. This isoleucine here, it's tagged up as green. There's another one over here as well. And I think, I feel like those should be considered core visually speaking, since they're pretty buried. I mean, we could also always look at it in sphere view as well. Sphere view is a great way to see if you've got stuff exposed or not. Looks like some of our core residues are actually kind of exposed in sphere view. Sphere view is a great way to look at it from the sense that we don't necessarily have atoms and bonds as simple sticks, as it were, right? They're really like sharing electrons in like electron clouds and whatnot. And so in sphere view, you get to see those electron clouds very vividly. You can even see the hydrogen electron clouds as well, sticking out from the polar residues, since we've got show all bondable hydrogens. If we showed all hydrogens, we can see all of the hydrogen electron clouds here. We'll switch back to bondables only. And let's see. Just want to make sure that I'm on my credit best solution here. Alright. Otherwise, I still think our core turned out pretty okay. Maybe I could turn the helices around just to figure out what kind of other orientations we can experiment with. That could be a way to drastically change it and open up new possibilities for higher score. But right now, I'm gonna do something that I use to help get solutions to a higher score here. The surface tryptophan, let's see, which position are you referring to again? Mech Sheep, also welcome in. Haven't seen your face before. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Are you referring to this one, the number 130 here? Definitely changeable. Typically I defer to Foldit's thing, but obviously it's not perfect when it chooses. If anything, I would go with like maybe another one. Well, let's turn off the core existence so I can view this in a proper format here. So looks like we're still okay there. You're right. What's going on here? Why did the game pick this? Like, if we want a ring structure here, like, at least pick a histidine, right? We're losing 20 points on that, but, like, who cares? That's the sad, that's the sometimes sad part about Foldit, is that sometimes you see something and you know that it looks wrong, but then the math doesn't work out, and then you get lost. It gets lost in the wash of score refinement, as I like to call it. Wait, did we lose core? No, we didn't lose core, so that's fine. But we did lose score, not core. Also, Sonord, I feel like I've seen your name before. Reacquaint me if we've met, because I could have sworn like I've seen you tune in on Foldit streams before. Also, I did post on the Foldit Discord, right? I feel like nobody's playing Foldit on a Saturday night. It is what it is. Oh, IPD fans. Okay. Got it. Alright. I hope you guys at the Institute of Protein Design are doing well. So is Mech Sheep. Oh, wonderful. This is the unofficial Foldit dev stream. Did you folks watch the stream earlier this morning with Josh and Susume? Like, Susume is like infinitely better at this game than I am. I'm just really good at making this game marketable, so to speak. You know what? What if we just like slapped an Arginine there? Lose a little bit. Now that's gonna be unsatisfied, but I guess we get more coverage here, and then I guess let me check the rotomers. Side chain. I'm okay with that. You missed that? The video on demand, the VOD, should be up on Foldit's channel. In fact, let me find that. Oh god, it's hosting my channel. I should mute that player. There we go. Let's see. Collections. Past premieres. Past broadcast. Okay, that's weird. Oh, wait. Popular clips. Why is their broadcasts not being archived? Let's see. I have no idea. Hold on, let me check the flavor text here. Yeah, I'm not actually sure. It doesn't overtly say in the flavor text, so might need to ping. Let's see. I need to ping someone on Discord to get back to you on that. Let me hold on. Let me go into the Foldit Discord real quick. Do you guys use Discord, by the way? Yeah, just like ping Brian or something. Like, the Foldit Discord has been absolutely popping lately, and it is fantastic. Fantastic news, because like a lot of potential players use Discord, and now that we have a Discord presence, it's really easy for me to like go in, look for people that are looking for help, like outside of like the game chat, right? Which I'm pretty sure the game chat is popping right now. And it allows me to help even if I'm not like streaming or playing the game. But yeah, I would defer to them on that, because that is beyond my wheelhouse and pay grade at this point. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and move forward without the tryptophan. I just need to find a way to overwrite my high score here. I know we're still losing the bonuses for the non-ideal loops over here and here, but that's not something that we can do a lot about, especially with the locked cot points and everything. I do need to get more water though. That is the next order of business, and I know that quick fix is gonna waste a lot of time on the locked residues of the protein. I think there's maybe been an update to it. Let me check. Also, I should message Josh. Let's see. Odds are still not showing up properly on Foldit's Twitch channel. FYI. Recommend highlighting odds. Also export it directly to YouTube. recipes. I need quick fix. So my current version is 3.55. Looks like there's 3.6 out. Yeah, let me update my recipe here. Gotta get all of our stuff patched. And I might fix things like, you know, working on frozen parts of the protein here. Let me just check that. More idealized functions, filter management options. Doesn't say that in the change log, but that's okay. Let's see, delete that. Add 3.6 from the website, and that just goes directly up in here. Then we can just cut and paste into the folder here. Alright. So quick fix 3.6, sheet helix, backbones, bands, freezes. Please keep my helices, thank you. Disable filters, but we need those. So we can be slower. Never wiggle all backbones, just to keep it conservative in the changes that it makes. And then I'm gonna take a quick break, get some more water, also run to the restroom real quick. But yeah, in the meantime, feel free to hang out and chill and have a pleasant conversation. It's quick saving. Let's show output here. Actually, yeah, my break scene is working properly. All right, so. I will mute Mike, be right back, get some water, get some refreshments, and come back with some topics, because I'd love to continue chatting and playing. Alright, settle down, settle in, we are back. Pop that back in. It is so nice, by the way, to have a stream deck. Like, I don't know, it's really satisfying to just push something, have it work, and I don't have to like click around and alt tab like between my windows. It's just nice. It's very nice. Not necessarily like necessary by any means, but you know. Alright, so usually when I'm running quick fix, this is usually to fix like a severe backbone ideality issue, and I don't want to like go in and use like zero length bands or something. So when it's on loop 2, that's when I usually stop it. And so at this point, I'm gonna hit cancel here. This is one of those recipes that'll just keep going until you tell it to stop. And we'll go ahead and wait for this to clean up. Looks like it's set a new high score as well, so that is splendid. So we're still good on core. Let's look at core coloring. Still looking all right there. I don't think we have any heinous surface residues, as it were. Although I'm curious, will the game do the math again? So you hit that and then Y. It still wants to pick the tryptophan. I don't know why. Hold on, let's look at the scoring breakdown. So it's scoring 13.7 versus the arginine 19.8. So I guess it's affecting the score around as well. But that is very, very curious, and I'm curious as to why it does that. And it looks like we're not gonna get a straight answer from the score breakdown alone. Let's see, did I set this to? Okay, yeah, that is at 3%. Maybe I just have my headphones a little bit too loud. It's always a challenge doing sound balancing. Okay, let's see. We did do a global wiggle, so I guess we should do that. Let's do a fuse, just to get those extra packing points to take home. turn off our core existence filter. I think we can probably sit on score Hydro CPK for the remainder. Alright, and then start boost that up. This is yeah, so one of our helices is locked, right? We can't edit any of this, especially the binding domain down here. In fact, there's just like a tryptophan sitting down right here. It used to be an aspartate, or no, it was actually a glutamate. There we go. It's a little strong, longer there, and it was like hydrogen bonding here. But again, Foldit sometimes takes out good residues in the wash, and such was the consequence of that. In fact, let me set it back to what it was in its starting pose. Let's open up the pose picker here. Wiggle side chains. But yeah, like whenever I hit mutate, like, and it like affects all residues, I need to like manually lock down and freeze residues that I want to keep. So I guess we should probably grab that, what's it, 100, residue 130? I think it was 130 earlier that I changed to like an arginine or a lysine. Let us freeze that when I hit mutate. I'm gonna need to remember this. You know what, hold on, let's do a normal score refinement without mutating first, and then I can start mutations. The rest looks fine. Yo, methionine stuck. A couple of methionine snuck in there. Nice. Let's bring it back up to full power. I don't know if you guys heard about the big influx of players, but apparently someone posted about Foldit to r/coronavirus, and that like basically gave the website the Reddit hug of death. But it was quite exciting, those first few moments where it's like, oh god, nobody can log in. And I ended up doing like an hour, like a 1 hour long stream, or like a 2 hour long stream one morning when I woke up early to do that. But lately, just real life has been kicking my butt. I'm still in pharmacy school, and I've got a lot of obligations there. So that's been taking up my time and energy recently. So it's all the stars align though, like with self-isolation and social distancing being a thing. I now have more time and energy now that I'm not commuting 30 minutes to and from to muck about on the computer. Got buried, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I'm kicking myself for not like streaming sooner, because like that would have really helped, but it is what it is. Heard about it on Twitter a couple of days ago. Well, welcome in. I'm glad that I can be the content creator, so to speak. Like, legit, besides the official Foldit streams and Susume trying her hand at streaming, I'm basically the only Foldit streamer that I know of that does it semi-decently well and has a quote-unquote setup. So it's very gratifying to hear people come in and find my content. Let's do a couple more manual fuses. I really want to like punch through this high score with proper residues here. Wait, hold on. Why did this link up back here again? I guess we can be ambiguous about this position. Playing it normally. Yeah, like this is raw, unedited, like totally live footage, so, you know, ask away. Like I'm doing my best to explain my commentary and rationale while doing so, and this is also like an insight into like how a more experienced player handles the controls. I'm using my hotkeys a lot. I probably should get a hotkey overlay working sometime, but I mean, I need to focus on actually streaming the game too, so there's that. And then of course, like the longer playing veterans, right? Those a lot of the high scorers, like you see on the leaderboard here, like they are mostly of an older player base. Like a lot of them are retirees, and so it's very interesting seeing that a lot of people from many different demographics can contribute to playing this game. They're also doing it typically on older hardware too, so they don't have necessarily like gaming rigs all the time. They're maybe just using their Mac or something. It's a different structure from another preprint publication. Interesting. I knew it was some sort of elucidated structure with, I think it was EM, but I wasn't sure. So let's see. Ah, okay. With the ACE2 receptor. Very nice, very nice. I wonder if they have this uploaded into standalone and what it would look like. Still irks me that we can't do anything about this stupid clash down here since it's locked down, but, you know, whatever. And also, unfortunately, in this design, since I'm going for a large core that folds well, I can't go for bonus bonding down here so we can fulfill these polar atoms. That's something that I'm not liking as much. Ooh, I wonder if... this might be exposed now that I look at it. Hold on, I'm gonna actually... Let's see. I'm gonna do... I'm gonna turn on infinity recipes here and let it score refine while I commentate. So let me do a brief primer on that, since again I am exporting this to YouTube later. Hi YouTube. So anyways, so now that we've kind of gotten things like refined and locked down here, this is kind of like our final solution, but it's not like score optimized just yet, and it's kind of hard to tell visually, but mathematically speaking, we can use recipes to detect what parts of the protein are scoring low, not necessarily for what reasons though, and so sometimes you might find that some of your hydrogen bonds and specific mutations get lost in the wash. But it is a great way to increase your score and to help improve your protein using different strategies. So not all recipes work the same here. I'm gonna open up my folder on the left here. So the TVDL series, these focuses on specific problem areas. Void Crushers is implying where it will kind of collapse voids using rubber bands. And I turn voids off because usually they get in the way, but these turning voids on will help you see if there's pockets that need to be filled up. Otherwise, you can have water in there, and that'll disrupt the hydrophobic interactions inside. So let's turn voids back off here. We have advanced deep rebuild and deep remix. These use the rebuild and remix tools, which honestly I don't really use in hand folding. They're not very useful in hand folding. But they use the rebuild and remix tools to throw in structures and poses and bond angles that exist in other actual proteins and test them out in your fold on the worst scoring segments. And it'll keep doing that ad nauseum and refining the score that way. And then of course using the aforementioned fuse to sort of refine and sort of solidify the solution that it proposes. GAB is an interesting one. This uses just complete randomness to rubber band different parts of the protein together. It hits wiggle and it'll jostle the protein, and then it'll do a standard fuse to see where it ends up, and sometimes you get score gains out of that. Random Idealize does exactly what it says on the tin. It'll take random segments of the protein and force ideal bond angles on it. So like it's just like if you right clicked and hit Idealize on the part of the protein there. So that's what it does there. These ones I don't use as much. AFK is kind of like an automated process of going down to a random clashing importance, shaking, wiggling, and mutating, and then going back up to full and solidifying the fold and pose there. So that automates itself as well. But typically I like to use TVDL's recipes along with the bottom half of this here. I used to use these other ones in certain other puzzles, but they kind of fell out of favor for me. So I'm going to use Deep Remix here, since it usually tends to preserve these secondary structures, and if stuff gets lost in the wash, we'll take a look at it later. But I usually keep it on default settings. You can fiddle with these if you like. You can set the length that you can that remix will rebuild. So you can do like 1 residue remixes, which is not really that useful, but I keep it at 3, and then I'll crank it up to 10 if I'm gonna leave my computer for a long time, since sometimes like a 10 residue chunk can come up with different solutions. So again, degrees of freedom and how much time and processing power you have. Obviously in this current leaderboard cycle we have 4 days left, so you got to keep my computer on to automatically fold that. This slot selection here, this is referring to the amount of scoring slots that it looks at. So when it's picking the different poses that Remix does, right? So if I hit, let's see, where's a good example? I guess maybe this one. Remix 3, Langston 3 to 9. So let me switch. Oh no, I just crashed the game. So another thing too, Foldit crashes a lot. Be prepared for that. I'm not gonna upload the crash log for that, but we'll relaunch quickly since we're on stream. Also prepare for blinded eyes because the login screen is not in dark mode. Luckily it blanks out my password there. You can just load right back in. It looks like it loaded my view settings from the start of the stream, so welcome to our fold here. And I think I've recovered frame rate. I think the game is running at 60 FPS again. Oh man, I wonder if it was a memory leak. That would be interesting. Or maybe it's because I'm not showing bonds. That could probably tank the frame rate a little bit. Also, I was during the break I was reading up on some strategy here, and I wanted to showcase the backbone pins feature real quick, so we'll do that here. Show bondables, please. Let's go back to Score Hydro CPK. I think we're good there. So with show backbone pins turned on, you can see where the protein is anchored whenever you're wiggling and stuff, and showing the backbone pins makes these visible. So a strategy to get around the cut points not being ideal is, as described by Susume, to local wiggle these. So get them quite close first, and then local wiggle these and have them resolve themselves. And then once they're resolved, which I don't think we're going to get too much out of this one here, since, yeah, our like ideality has gone to crap. We can move the pin all the way over here so that this stays in place, and then we don't have to like, you know, fiddle with the crappy stuff here. So like, if we're making edits for like further down the line, this will stay anchored in place so that we don't have to deal with this locked cut point here that we can't do anything about. And then same thing for the other side here. So if we just drag this pin all the way up, then we can lock that one in place too. Rosetta and its memory drain. Apparently this is infamous, according to insider sources. Do tell. Let's see. It doesn't help that I'm streaming either. Hold on, let me open up Task Manager. Yeah, I'm up to like 9.2 out of my 16 gigs on my rig, running OBS and my broadcasting software and Foldit. And this goes even higher when I'm actually playing another video game on top of running Foldit in the background while streaming. So there's that. Let's see. This is not my high score. I'm assuming you're talking about the paper there. I don't know if they uploaded it to the PDB yet. I hope they did. That'd be good. Good for the research. Anyways, let's hide pins now since we don't need to edit those anymore. I think, yeah, we don't have the surface tryptophan. There's the arginine down there. Wonderful. So I think now we're clear to start recipe churning here. I also want to wiggle on medium wiggle power just once to force the ideality computations and overwrite my high score with something new.
This all comes from an understanding.
Get myself a few ranks in the process, hopefully.
But fluid, like water. Be like water.
Does have a better RMSD. I remember RMS was like root means square, right? I forget what the last part stands for. There's already mutations though? Oh, deviation. Okay. And I think I vaguely remember the concept behind that as well. From my pharmaceutical chemistry class. See, core is fine. We are not losing points to any extra residues, but we can add more residues to potentially gain more points. We just get a score penalty for adding more. And then we're, honestly, we're not concerned about this, so that's fine. Yeah, so at this point, let's open up our recipes again. What was I doing? Oh yeah, trying to demonstrate what remix actually does, or does rather. So let's tag this as a loop, and then if I hit remix on here, let's see, maybe tag that one as a loop as well. There we go. So after a while, it'll show you like different chunks of actual proteins that have different score and poses and whatnot, and you can pick one. And then what Deep Remix does will analyze the score breakdown for these poses, and then it will slot them into different scoring slots. So one is just overall, and then the others will place the best scoring pose in each of the categories. And so those range from ideality to clashing to hiding, or packing, like all the score categories in the segment information window here. So stuff like that. You can have it just do 4 main ones, right? So it doesn't have to be checking every single slot, and it does go faster back in the Deep Remix interface here. But we'll go for all slots, and then by default it checks reset mutate options, so you can configure how it will choose to mutate in between its score refinements. Don't really know what these sliders do, if I'm being completely honest. Don't have to. And then there are other toggles here. You can hit more options. Looks like that opens up the mutate options. And even more options. And then you just hit OK, and then it'll go and continue until you tell it to stop. And it'll spit out what it's finding in the recipe output, and just kind of work its magic from there. Actually, before I let this do its thing here, I'm gonna hit pause for just a moment. I should mention that in actions down here, there is a button that says auto structures. When you click this button, it will show you what the game considers to be in a helix, or in a loop, or in a beta sheet at your current pose, right? So these aren't the structures that like we assigned at the beginning here, and that's quite all right. In fact, I want to keep that accurate here. So hit auto structures. So this is not being considered part of the helix. This loop is a little longer, and that might dock us some points here, but I'm not hurting too terribly badly. Fingers crossed. And then see, I think over here we didn't lose a lot of helix residues over here, so we're good there. Let me just see if I can get a quick little cheeky score over right, because I do want to save my credit best as a as the structures as they're currently represented. Let's go to 50%. Bring it back up. Full power. Okay, there we go. Gained a couple points. Score is overwritten. I wonder if we can breach top 50 by the time we end the stream. That would be hype. Alright. So now we can hit remix here, and I can start chilling for a little bit. I've been going hard at the game for a hot minute here. And then in the view options here, pulse while working, I usually keep this on to see where it's working the recipe is. Let's go for a top-down view here. And we're just big chilling. Like, I already explained how the recipe sort of works, and so, I mean, if you're on YouTube here, you could probably just stop watching if you're just looking for like practical gameplay tips, because this is kind of late game. This is where we just kind of set it and forget it, and then maybe change up the recipe every once in a while. Look for obviously problematic residues, as our protein design friends pointed out earlier with the tryptophan, and then make sure that doesn't get lost in the wash. Just remake those edits. Adaptive to these structural changes, several mutations in 2019 in COV RBD enhance ACE2 binding affinity. Endgame meta. Oh, okay. Like this is the recipe meta game. Honestly, like recipes are still like super in the meta. Like despite like for at least score, right? You know, science aside, right? Like protein design aside, if we're going for like hardcore scoring here, recipes are still meta. And then if your protein's hydrogen bonds get lost in the wash, so be it. You're getting points somehow, some way, and you're probably not going to have enough time to care about why. If I'm being completely like savagely honest here. But again, you can as a player go in, make those edits, and then hit submit to scientists to bypass that the leaderboard requirement, so that you can see what's going on. See a ton of methionine in the core? I believe we do have a lot of methionine. In fact, let me go pure CPK so we can look for those sulfurs. Let's see, we have 1, 2, and 3. 3 methionines. They do take up space pretty well, but I can see how they can cause issues, especially with that sulfur being there, I guess. I don't know. Sulfur is suspicious. I mean, like, what else could you put in place of one? Like, could you put, like, isoleucine and get away with it? Or probably just straight up leucine. It's just that the fork at the end will have it take up more space with sterics and whatnot. Rosetta really likes it because it fits everywhere. That makes sense. Like, it just... It runs the numbers, and it's like, oh, methionine has, like, a lot of different... you know, twists and bends that'll like intermesh like little fingers. Makes sense. So many rotamers, and that's probably what it factors in. So I guess I'll probably do a leaderboard run and just like not care about my residues, and then I'll probably, before the puzzle expires, I'll go in and do a submit to scientists solution with manual edits based on like subjective feedback like that, and then they can use that to recalibrate. So like I said, we're big chillin', so I'm just gonna check in on my messages real quick. They specifically limit alanine and methionine amounts? Interesting. I wonder if we can add that as a extra objective here. So if I were you, I'd let HQ know about this. Well, I don't know. I can probably get them. I can at least get Josh to watch my VODs, and then he can report stuff like that. And then that could be a possible like future objective here. But yeah, we're big chillin'. Like, by the way, in the recipe output here, you can see what it's gaining. You can see what the scores are for the different subsections. So this one, let me scroll up to something that is it still on the first one? No, it's still on the first one. Okay, whatever. But there's total. There's like, I guess, local total. I think it's still trying to pick different stabilized scores from different scoring categories. So there's that. Alanine has a problem. I see. It's just the least bad and therefore highest scoring. Okay. It's just kind of like the best placeholder to just put there. Makes sense. A lot of sense. Also, why am I in enzyme or wait, no, I'm in CPK right now. I was about to say, well, why am I in enzyme design when I could be back in a non-eye bleeding, well, I guess it's still kind of eye bleedy, non-eye bleeding color scheme. We could turn on rainbow. Rainbow looks a lot better. My eyes are still marginally bleeding, but it's fine. It looks pretty. Now you might see like the recipe like introduce like backbone issues as it's working. We just let that slide. It'll fix itself. It's keeping track of like its current best and whatnot. So like again, recipes are typically like fully automated to really go hard on it. And then I'm not personally a scripter here, so I mean like the best I did was like edit some scripts in Roblox. Which are also coded in Lua, by the way. But yeah, that's as far as I went. But if you are, and you are interested in working in this game, then by all means, please make us more recipes. Make them more efficient, too. And we can see where we can go from there. Checking out Discord as well. Others change. Let's see. Someone asked in Discord, "Does Foldit work like Roblox? Can I see others' changes in real time?" You can see others' changes to their high scoring solutions on the leaderboard. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you won't see this. This is on the Foldit Discord, which, by the way, you should totally join. I'll hopefully leave links in the description. Otherwise, you can find it on the official website. It's here. Now you can see more of the recipe output here. So now it's looking at clashing pairwise, and then it grabs whatever best score there is. It fuses it. It outputs it in the recipe output, and then it'll just start again. It'll look for more low-scoring areas and go to town. And let's inspect our protein here, just so we haven't, just to see if we've lost anything in the wash here. Because TVDL is running mutate on its operations here, so we don't have any of the heinous offenders here, and we are using Score Hydro CPK. I was commenting on this earlier, but some of these residues on the bottom here might be ordinarily exposed to the outside. There are some hydrophobics in here, by the way, but I mean, like, when it's just folding without the binder protein, these might be exposed. So I'm a little concerned about that, and I'm thinking like this phenylalanine right here is influencing this to be the isoleucine, at least as far as mutate is concerned. So there's a limitation there that I might need to fix. This arginine has stayed, so that's good. We haven't had our tryptophan come back. So let's see. We're still getting pretty decent point gains on Deep Remix, so I think I'll run it again later, but I'm going to cancel it for now, and I'm going to switch to GAB just to showcase a different recipe in the span of this YouTube video that will get exported later. This one doesn't have any config, so I can just like run it straight out of the box here, and it'll get to work. And as you can see, it's just creating random rubber bands, but that might just be what it needs to explore something different. Reconnect two cut pieces. So when you drag them together, assuming that they're not locked down, in the current round of our coronavirus puzzle, these cut points are locked down. We can't refuse them back together, so unfortunately you're gonna have to deal with that. My recommendation, freeze like a segment close to it, right click, hit wiggle on the pie menu, and then let it wiggle out, and then if you hit show backbone pins in the advanced view menu down here, you can drag the pins to there, and it'll anchor that in place so that it doesn't move. And then that's the best you can do, really. Like, we're all going to be losing 200 points on this. Oh god, it's an XKCD comic. If you can fold a protease enzyme. I love that comic. I remember that now. Two green ends that you want to connect. So if you can edit it, right? Like if you're in this view here, let me cancel my recipe here just so I can demonstrate. It's posted at the kitchen at the Institute. Oh my god, that's great. Alright, so for example, if I wanted to cut this helix in half, right? So let's say they are dragged apart. I can either use the move tool to physically move this back closer together. I gotta make sure that it's also like in the right direction, and then I think I need to be a little bit more specific here. And then it turns yellow. Once it turns yellow, you left click and it will fuse it back together. If it's not working out that way with the move tool, you can always use like the pull tool, or you can use local wiggle to have it get pulled towards each other, and then it will turn yellow. It also might resolve the shape issues when you hit wiggle. Make sure enable cut bands is on if you want to do this, otherwise you'll have to use your own rubber bands. But yeah, it's just as simple as that. My pleasure, Linda. Thanks for stopping in and asking questions. If you guys have any other Foldit questions, by the way, feel free to field them. I am here to help. I've been playing this game for about 2 years now, so and I'm, as far as I know, the only one that streams it. Just, you know, putting that out there. Humble brag. Hashtag sorry not sorry. What other memes can I throw in? I don't know. Alright, let's turn on GAB again. get our random rubber bands to hopefully jostle this protein and get some extra scoring out of this. It's not really going to pay attention to like worse scoring parts of the protein, but this is a good way to refine it. Straight up Rosetta under the Foldit tag. That's I was gonna say that's hilarious, but it's also like ironic, and I don't know. The words actually fail me. I cannot articulate myself. About here. Oh, the white helix is making a great pie stack. Wait, oh. Hold on, let's cancel our recipe here. I think it was this one that was being changed to tryptophan. It was gone earlier because I think it was like mutating, and it auto picked it earlier. Anyways, hold on. You said there was a pie stack somewhere, right? If it's gone, oh well. But was it pie stacking with this phenylalanine in the back? I'm not sure. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, maybe you could have clipped it. That would have been a good use of the clipping feature, but I think it's past 30 seconds now. Or 30 seconds to a minute. The glutamine attached to the lysine. Oh, down here. Oh, yo. Yeah, we could totally mutate that. So what? Do we mutate that to tryptophan? I mean, would that count? Does that count as a pie stack? It's off center. Up here, yeah, that makes sense. Or back here. I forget where it was. It's close enough. Yeah, no, it is very close. Anyways, let's restore credit best. This guy can fold over there with a different rotamer. Let's see, what else can we take a look at here? I wonder if we could do some score refinements with the methionine replaced up in here. Wait, no, I don't want to mutate that. Alright. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Let's throw in leucines there, and then run a collapse and see if we can get away with it. Interface only and then monomer only? I mean, we still have more rounds to go, obviously. Like, they can keep reiterating puzzles as needed, but definitely get in talks with Brian to see if he can influence the puzzle design. And again, the Discord is poppin' as well, so like, if you haven't already, like, get on Discord and get in our chats, because we can definitely use that as a great platform. Hold on, is this being considered core? It is. It reveals all the bugs and loopholes in Rosetta? Well, yeah, there we go. We can, again, like, I think I was explaining this earlier, and in the Discord server, where even if you don't get a good score, we can we can use it as benchmarking. And I was explaining this earlier this morning in the general channel. Players are really good at abusing loopholes. Yo, did I ever tell you this one time when I was playing one of the beginner design puzzles, right? And I was trying to make like a standard fold and following all the golden rules, and at some point I was just kind of like, okay, well, I guess this is my best fold. I'm getting really good points by getting an alpha helix, and I don't know what came over me, but I just reset the puzzle, helicized the entire designable protein, hit ideal SS, hit mutate, and it beat my high score by at least a few hundred points. And I was just like, what the heck? God dang it. A giant helix is more stable than like whatever like half-baked protein that I was designing at the time. I was both salty and amused by that occurrence. Oh, he has? Oh, that's fantastic. Nothing like crowdsourced data to really get you out of the bubble that is, my model is valid. Polycystine. Oh, you guys were going over the... Oh wait, no, never mind. That's a different one. That's a different puzzle series. The polyproline series is what I was thinking of. I take it something happened with a cysteine bearing design. Polyarginine actually scores really well. Sounds like it was made by a bunch of pirates. But if you don't get the joke, by the way, and you're not like a protein nerd like I am, arginine, the single letter abbreviation for arginine is R. Similar to what Captain Blackbeard might be saying when he starts groaning at this joke. Literally just all cysteines. Okay. Okay. Well, how did it come together? I know that is Apocalypse Now, but I'm wondering about Apocalypse How. Also, what was I doing? Oh, I'm shaking. Okay. That's amazing. Oh my god, I can see the title for the Spiffing Brit video already. Foldit is a perfectly balanced game with no with no exploits or cheats. I don't know. Like, but this is the Spiffing Brit, by the way, is another great YouTuber to follow if you just want to see like games being broken, like hilariously broken. In fact, hold on. He has a Twitter, right? Maybe I should tweet at him. Be like, hey, we've got a really, really buggy game. Well, quote-unquote game. Alright, 620. Oh yeah, that's right, we're testing out that. So let's collapse. Go all the way down to 2% clashing importance. Let's go. No bugs, only features. Yep. I feel like that's something Rudism would say. Fails them, he has to do a punishment game? Oh dear. It's the one time you've seen someone other than me stream Foldit? Yo, poggers. That's amazing. And also quite sad that Foldit has to be relegated to that of a punishment game. But it makes sense. It makes sense. We unfortunately have to take that L, but we'll take it in stride. had no idea what was going on, but you had to try to explain. Fair enough. That reminds me, like, I know Josh was reposting some of the Foldit memes that I had made back in the day in our memes channel on Discord. And I think I remember our Foldit starter kit, or no, why not visit Foldit meme format, where it's like, we got Plaguey Boys, we got Spaghetti, we got Aflac. It was just a picture of aflatoxin. I put the exclamation point for backbone errors as tactical espionage action. Chef Lua, and then of course Pirates, with just a screenshot of Arginine. I love that meme format. I miss it. It looks like people are liking my Foldit tweets, but I don't see them in here. Although they might be lurking. I know that Meadow likes to lurk a lot. Alright, let's see. What was I doing? Oh yeah, right. We were collapsing that, so let's wiggle up. Look at that, guys, we're hand-folding again. Let's go all the way back to full. And I think we're just gonna run medium at this point. Like, I can afford to chill. I don't need auto for the increased settling time. Because the thing about medium is that every operation just takes a lot more time now that you're like throwing ideality calculations in the mix. So just when hand folding, I'd recommend sticking on auto just for the sake of time, like your own time. But if you've got the rig and like a powerful processor to really crunch the numbers faster, then by all means go to medium right away and just set it and forget it. Get those extra points. Let's see, I'm not even within striking distance yet. Competitive Foldit tournaments? I mean, look, we already have a leaderboard system. We already have a ranking system on manual mode. So like what, no recipes? It's hard to like enforce no recipes, because sometimes recipes do like the basic things that you would need for hand folding. On manual mode with shoutcasters, yo, hit me up. If I'm not busy, I am there. I am there. I will unleash my inner caster. I just got reminded of Total Biscuit, may he rest in peace, but I remember when he used to do Shoutcraft. Oh yeah, there's another score refinement technique that I haven't done yet. It's just a variation of a normal fuse, but what we can do is we can collapse our protein again. So let's go back to, actually hold on, restore credit best. Go up to 1, and then we're gonna zero length band. I should go into selection mode so it doesn't band up the locked portion. Let's see. Okay, that selects all of it. That also selects the entire thing. Cool. And then I need zero length bands for the backbone only. Oh man, this song is old as hell. I remember that. Also, now that I say that song is old as hell, then I feel old. Oh no. I'm only 23. I'm still a baby. ZLBs really get this to lag. Also, I forget that sometimes recipes leave notes behind that you can dismiss and whatnot if you really would need to, but you can also tag notes onto different segments if you want to leave breadcrumbs for yourself to figure out. It only gets worse. Yeah, I think that is implied. Let's see, is there any messages that I need to respond to? Oh my god, ZLBs take forever, man. ZLB is, of course, referring to zero-length bands. Wait, it's banding the whole dang protein again. Oh wait, I forgot to select selection only. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Select it only, please. Please do not waste my time and processing power. So, anyways, my ZLBs have been finished for a while, I bet. I tend to get carried away. So, sometimes, what I like to end up do, or what I like to do, or end up doing is just doing this. Just jostling it aside and then letting the bands restore the shape. And it's gonna, you know, cause some chaos here. But that's kind of what we want, to just explore. Again, possibility spaces. Again, they're really narrow at this time, but we can maybe rearrange things in a way that can result in a higher score. And then eventually you need to wiggle without the rubber bands being there, and then let that settle in so that the score can be maximized that way. And these are not very strong rubber bands either, so they might settle in a different orientation. In fact, I'm going to remove the rubber bands part ways out since they're very close now. Looks like we've formed some ideality issues here, which should be resolved over time. But yeah, let's just let this sit for a little bit. Again, get creative. There's no one right way to poke at your protein for higher scores. And also, there's no one right way to build a protein that is effective, right? Of course, there are some rules that you should follow and generally adhere to, like, you know, making a hydrophobic core, making your hydrogen bonds and all that, and making sure that you're not placing things too close together for clashing. But if you want to try a beta sheet configuration to cover and make a core, then by all means try one. Also, we lost a lot of points there, so let's run quick fix. Hopefully that should ignore the locked segments, and then that should focus on here because that's what I wanted to fix. And then once this is gone, I'll global wiggle again. So that's the whole point, right? Everyone's going to come up with a different solution, and the more people play, the more chances we have at finding the right one, or something very close to that scientists can maybe make some small edits to, and then synthesize in the lab. Let's see, how long are we striding for here? We're up to the 3-hour mark. 3.5 hours. Is this done yet? No, not quite. I'll let this do its thing for a bit. I might have to hit mutate to explore this new solution track. In fact, I should probably make a new track, but whatever. Also, again, my way back in the early game, just to throw it back a little bit as well, of folding these structures here, I didn't make use of the blueprint tool. I could have totally used blueprint to maybe put this together, maybe throw in some building blocks for like some more structures. But since this was pretty simple, pretty basic, I decided not to use it. But especially with these cut points being in here, it makes it very hard to use those direct linking building blocks to chain together secondary structures. So like I could have tossed in a helix to helix joint here, but the cut point being locked prevents us from doing much about that. It's also kind of hard to tell sometimes that, you know, this first segment, these are all locked, and it's hard to tell unless you're in selection interface, like where is this referring to. And so that's why you should go into selection interface, highlight these, and it'll make highlight those in real time on your protein. That's a good way to orient yourself. But using blueprint is still also a viable strategy. Just make sure that once you're done with the building blocks holding things together, remove the scaffolding of those building blocks so that you can get wiggle to optimize your score. I should also mention too that Blueprint actually has these aren't just static pictures. You can drag these around. I should move this in a place here you can see it. You can drag these around to see how they look in 3D space, and to see whether or not it will look like what you're looking for. They also recently added a feature where if you drag building blocks onto the blueprint, it'll give you a little ghost projection as to like how it's gonna look like on your fold. It works kind of well. It's a little helpful. It's actually like a recent addition, I think. It didn't used to do that as far as I remember. So that's it's really nice to kind of use as a tool to help plan out your protein. And then these here you can drag on to create more helix or sheet segments as well. And as you can see, there's different kinds of junctions here. This is assuming that you're going from left to right on the blueprint menu here. So if I was about to make a sheet, then I can tack on a helix to sheet segment there. And then to get it orientated properly, like I could shift the building block by one residue at a time, left or right, and you can see it facing different directions as well. Also, I forgot we were running Quick Fix this entire time. Like, Quick Fix does find score solutions, but it's more designed to help fix those ideality issues before running longer term global recipes. So again, like I said for Foldit, treat this as you would like an idle game, like, you know, Cookie Clicker or Clicker Heroes, right? Except instead of being a purely like numbers based idle game, like incremental game, it's not so much incremental as it is there's a lot of downtime in between checking to see whether or not you've hit your point cap or not, and need to change your build to use it in more gamer relevant terms, I suppose. How's it going, gamers? Do you want to help stop coronavirus? Come play Foldit. Please never let me do that voice again. Alright, so random idealize. Let's switch up recipes again here. I don't think we're gonna get too much mileage out of what I was just doing, because we made the yeah, that's right, we made the edits here. Undo. Yeah, that has the methionines back in. That's all right. We'll keep those in there for now. Like, I mean, if they need to be edited, we'll make edits, and I can submit to scientists as well. Although, let me check voids real quick. There's no voids in the center, which is like absolutely fantastic. Let's see, design mode. Give me leucines in there. Will those create voids? They don't. Okay. Okay. I'm okay with this. Let's see. Leucine clashes. Isoleucine isn't overtly clashing, but I imagine it's like packed tightly in there. Could we get away with... Let's see, it's on the helix, so... Wait, threonine isn't disabled, so we could maybe do that? That looks like a plan. We still have max core bonus. And then the polar end of the threonine is on the outside, so... that works out? Maybe? I mean, we do have a little bit of non-polar over there. Is that a good angle of attack? Could we maybe mutate this to like asparagine? Or I guess it had to be glutamine to reach. Get the voids out of the way, man. See what I mean when I say that voids like just get in the way most of the time? This is what I mean. Also, I'm wondering if the A hotkey only applies in selection mode, because I was like, oh yeah, the sidechain picker, that totally is a thing. And it's like, well, it is a thing, but the hotkey only exists in selection mode. Yo, can I get half decent? Yeah, there we go. Rotomer that hydrogen bonds. Let's wiggle sidechains, please. At full power, good. Oh, that breaks it. Well, yeah, let's go back in time here. Yeah, so we were making those edits. Actually, might not agree with the phenylalanine here, maybe, because it might be on the outside. There is a lot of hydrophobics here, though. And this is locked down since we're doing a binding site interaction there. So we just gotta do a puzzle. Like we can treat this as an actual puzzle instead of just letting automation do its thing. Maybe we could get some more space filling over here, or maybe get a polar side over there. Although there's this F residue here blocking the way. That's part of the spike protein. You know, I actually want to see how many residues over the threshold I am for core existence. That might be something worth pursuing. Also, I should like make a highlight reel or something to like instead of like a straight export, or I guess I could straight export it to YouTube and then I can make a highlight reel and then get on with a day. I only have so many hours in the day to do things, of course, but you know how it is. We're still good on residues. Alright, so let's refine with what we have. And then let's maybe use a recipe that doesn't mutate. How about we put a mutation embargo? Can we turn off mutations for Deep Remix? I think we can. So in Deep Remix's settings, so if we have reset mutate options, we can untick mutate, And we can make the sphere like really low, I guess. Keep the mutate clashing importance at the same time. This is what it's referring to, is this meter. But yeah, we can make this. If it does mutate, we'll make the space really small. But that should turn off the mutations, and then we can just lock it to these residues, and it'll just look for positional changes that it can make. It won't look for mutations. That's one of the ways that you can configure recipes, and there's usually a setting for that in a lot of popular ones. Hey, welcome in, Gotonis. Yeah, I am I am basically the only Foldit streamer who actually bases their identity around Foldit. But it's cool. Streaming this game actually got me into pharmacy school. Helped set me apart during interviews, and it's something that I keep giving back to even now. Welcome in. If you need gameplay help or anything like that, or if you know anyone who needs to see gameplay, then by all means, send. Feels good, man. The red ball floating back and forth, that indicates a clash. It just means that something is too close together. Like, for example, if I just, like, moved this entire thing here, we would make a lot of clashes, and our score goes right down into the dumpster. And as in real life, we don't have things clipping together in real life. We can't have something existing in the same space at the same time. Unfortunately, this part of the puzzle is locked down. So for this round, there's actually been multiple rounds already for this coronavirus puzzle. So again, check out the game at Foldit, fold.it. And you can see more about the game and the science there. You can also download the game and check this out for yourself. It takes a little bit to get into, though. I have uploaded a video up on YouTube, and there's a highlight in my Twitch channel for a tutorial, quote-unquote, speed run. And in the I showed off the first round of the puzzle series, where you could start this from scratch. Like, we didn't have this locked down portion here. Let me explode this my build here just to show you guys. So in rounds 1 and 2, we had full control. We could make a protein from scratch, and we didn't have this locked down portion. Round 3, they decided, okay, let's switch up the strategy a little bit and introduce this locked down protein portion for our design restrictions, and then we have to build around that. And so that's what I've done for the better half of like 3 or almost 4 hours. Let me reset the puzzle. Like, it saves our solution, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. This is how we start off the puzzle here. So we've got the locked protein domain, and this is binding quite nicely into the receptor groove that the coronavirus protein normally uses to latch on to our proteins. And some of the residues are locked here. Some of the little side chains sticking out are locked, but and the backbone here is locked. But for the rest of the backbone and the rest of the side chains, we can change that to what we want. Like, if we want, you know, an arginine here, we can get an arginine here, and it'll simulate that in real time and add or subtract to your score. And then we can make alpha helices or beta sheets. And if this is going over your head, don't worry, this is like actual biochemistry. So if you have questions, please, absolutely, send them my way. In fact, we got a question now. How close do I think? Reasonably close. Like, this, of course, like, this is obviously, like, provided by the scientists themselves on the dev team. So that's definitely, you know, it definitely helps. Obviously, if we don't want to do that, we can still load in the other puzzles, the rounds 1 and 2, and start from scratch. And I'm saying we want to make, not necessarily a cure, but definitely something that can help, for sure. I do have a background in biochemistry, I got a bachelor's in pharmaceutical chemistry at UC Davis, and so that involves a lot of biochemistry, and I'm currently in pharmacy school to become a pharmacist. I'm going for a PharmD. So yeah, if you have information from nature, Sonord here is one of our guests from the Institute of Protein Design. And yeah, this is a simulation, so even like if your solution scores kind of crappily, that like it helps to validate the model. So if something goes wrong, the scientists can look at it and rejigger their calculations if they need to. Aren't subject to reward hacking. Yeah, although there has been metagame exploits and whatnot going on. I was telling the story earlier where one of the beginner puzzles where it has you design your own protein. I had folded together something half decent, and then I decided, hey, what if I just took the entire thing and made it into one giant spiral here. This we call these alpha helices. And thanks for the follow, by the way. I had just made it to one giant alpha helix, and it ended up scoring better than what I had previously folded, and I was both salty and laughing. Thanks for the follow as well. So yeah, I started playing this game a couple of years ago, actually, and it helped differentiate me when I was applying for pharmacy school. And so I like to joke that this game got me into pharmacy school. And this helped me like learn my amino acids when I was taking my biochemistry class, but it also helped me to understand like protein docking. There was also a small molecule design puzzle that was experimental. Hold on, let me run a automatic recipe here while I'm talking here so we can make the most out of our time. Let's crank that up. Do not mutate, please. Thank you. Or actually, wait, no. If you're not Snark, can you still play this? Yeah, absolutely. No, you can approach this from a pure gameplay standpoint and just learn as you go. You don't necessarily need to have biochemistry knowledge to play this. It helps, obviously, and I couldn't fully appreciate what I was doing until I understood what I was doing on the screen, and then that's when I realized, hey, nobody's a content creator for this game. I can claim exclusivity there and help explain the game. Hold on, I need to reset my auto folding recipe here. I'm in late game, quote unquote, right now, like mid to late game, where I already have a settled solution. I finished rough drafting my fold, and I'm just letting recipes automate the process of finding better scores. Although there are some things that the recipes kind of get wrong, and so I had to manually edit, and I'm just making sure that it preserves my manual edits here. So I need to turn off mutations, mutations will basically change the side chains off the sides here. So there. And this game has been used for more than just coronavirus, actually. There's a big puzzle series that's still ongoing called the Aflatoxin Challenge, where in those puzzles we have players redesign an enzyme that can break down a toxic carcinogen, a cancer-causing molecule that is found. It comes from fungus, and it's found in the world's food supply sometimes, and so that's a real big problem just worldwide in general. So that's still ongoing, but this coronavirus series launched pretty quickly, and so we got a lot of new players when this got posted to r/coronavirus up on Reddit, and that was a trip and a half. So I was basically like 24/7 on the Discord trying to help people out, like mashing my keyboard, trying to help people get on board. So let me just quickly run through like the basic gameplay flow that I had to follow to get there. So from the get-go here, like when we're kind of surveying things, like I can look at what we can do first. We need to make sure that we fold together something that has a nice stable core with these orange residues on the inside here, these orange side chains. These are sort of sticky, they're hydrophobic, and so they don't want to interact with water. The blue side chains, those are hydrophilic, they do want to interact with water, and those are what goes on the outside to sort of tank it and contain everything. Thanks for the extra follows, by the way, I appreciate it, guys. And so what we can do is we can make secondary structures which form stable hydrogen bonds to help hold things together. So I would assign the helix here, and then assign it to most of the structures here, use the ideal SS tool, and then from here I can just drag things using the move tool. Again, the controls for this game take a while to learn, and so definitely ask me if you or ask questions if you have them. But I do have a tutorial video series, or a tutorial video up on YouTube, and there's also other veteran players making stuff for YouTube now. I know that our favorite veteran player, Loci Oiling, was making videos as well, and his are like more edited than mine. Mine is just like straight up like stream VOD and just me talking and demonstrating live. His is more produced with basic tools, but I mean it's still better to have nonetheless. So yeah, again, this is early game. We're just like, you know, making a rough draft of a protein solution that we will propose. Have I played any of the other big ones? Not really. I tried playing Eterna, and I mean it was clean, it was polished, but it wasn't very engaging. It couldn't hold my attention for a while. And I guess I just like inherently I'm sort of biased here. You know, protein design, docking design, that's really relevant to my field, since proteins are what we generally interact with a lot of different drugs and pharmaceutics. Alright, hold on, let me use the freeze tool to lock this in place. I guess we'll do another solution draft since you guys are all here. Let's see. Thanks for the extra follow once again. Let me move this out of the way. Why is this not moving? Or maybe the backbone pin. That's okay. I can use wiggle to pull that together. Perfect. And then move this back. You need to manipulate the camera a lot in this game, so because it might look correct from one angle, and then you like flip the angles, and it's like, oh man, that's not what we wanted at all. All right, moving right along here. As you can see, we have a lot of clashes since things are like too close to each other and they're like bumping into each other, so we can fix that using the shake tool. There's a lot of different tools in the game that help you to manipulate this your protein here in this sandbox, and so definitely go through the tutorials if you can. The tutorials are admittedly, like in my honest and critical opinion, they are way out of date and very, very unpolished, but it's the best we got right now, especially since I can't be here all the time. I'm still in pharmacy school as well right now, so that's been eating up a lot of my time and energy to keep up with. And so Foldit is, you know, something I moonlight in. It's, you know, what I do in my free time and as a passion project for me, but yeah. Let's see. I think Quick Fix will target those. Quick Fix is a nice recipe to use when you've got backbone issues, but you don't want to like jostle the entire thing. You just want it to fix those, and it'll seek out problem areas quite efficiently. Sometimes it still locks onto like locked segments, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. Also, keep in mind if you are trying this for the first time, Foldit can be a little bit buggy and crashy and might not make the full extent of your good hardware if that's the case. I don't think there's like a 64-bit version of Foldit yet for Windows, which is sad, but the development team only has so much to do while they're keeping on top with, you know, writing science papers and writing for grants, and it gets quite busy. And I've actually had a couple opportunities to like peel back the curtain and see what goes on in development, and it's quite, you know, fascinating and sobering to kind of look at, to see like how many challenges there is to conduct like honest research. So solution, Yeah, it did revert to my solution. I need to back it up here. I did not want it to revert back. There we go. That's the problem here. In fact, let me make a new track. Track name 2. Oh, come on. All right, there we go. That should make it so that, yeah, okay, that's my credit best on this track, so that should make it easy, a lot easier on me. So from here, right, we can make some score refinements and whatnot. What helps us to make it so that we don't have all this nonsense going on, instead of all these placeholder sidechains, is that we can hit the mutate tool, and that'll mass mutate everything on our protein and pick whatever score is best. It might not necessarily be what is best, like visually speaking. Like, it's up to players and humans to look at what the game is doing and judge whether or not it's worthy. Like, even though it might score well, you might end up wanting to send something different in your send to scientists solution. And so even if your protein doesn't score well, you can still hit send to scientists, and they will review your solution to see whether or not there's like some good insights to be had there. Also, I should turn on these the core existence colorings to see whether or not we can build a stable core. So it looks like we've got things too far apart. In fact, I think Mutate's picking blue residues here in the center. So dare I say, might want to go back like quite a bit. Like go all the way back here. And just like move things a little closer first. And then maybe use something like zero length bands to like anchor them in place. And also we can lower down the clashing points. This tells the game to like not pay as much attention to clashing and lets the protein kind of settle in on each other. Let's see. Hopefully with lower clashing importance, this won't distort things too much when I hit wiggle. Points. Let's go down to 10%. Oh, yeah. Also, love the username, by the way. Do you want me to call you Pink or P-I-N-K? Pink works? Alright. Fantastic. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I actually was waiting to tell the story about this, but you've provided a good opportunity. Foldit, the story of how Foldit came about was... it used to be an off-branch of Folding at Home, or not, excuse me, not Folding at Home, Rosetta at Home. Folding at Home is something different, and it does also do protein auto folding and crowdsourcing, but it is not using the Rosetta engine and is not affiliated with Foldit. I think they are under Stanford's banner. But Rosetta at Home was basically a screensaver that people can run, and it still exists today and is also doing coronavirus related stuff. Hey Ryuji. Rosetta at Home, you could actually see the protein being modeled as it was folding, right? And so let's go ahead and try. Whoops, that's the security system, I think. Let's see, 0.33. And so people looked at what the screensaver was doing, and they're like, yo, why is it wasting time on like folds that we obviously know is wrong? Like, it should just skip this and then just like move these structures in together and like test those or something. And so what I like to imagine happened is the would-be developers of Foldit just kind of looked at each other and they're like, okay, why don't you do it then? And so what they ended up doing is they ended up adding the user interface, all the buttons and manipulation tools, to the Rosetta engine, and it became Foldit. And through human pattern recognition and computational might, so to speak, we can fold proteins together and predict the structure and design proteins much faster than we could ordinarily would with just like brute force algorithmic prediction alone and crowdsourced computing. So it's quite a fascinating tale of melding mind and machine. All right, so now that Mutate's picked our residues for us, and then I think we can hit core existence to check here. We've got a lot of green residues, which are borderline being considered buried in the core, which will get us our max bonus points here. But we can try to fix that with some wiggling. That'll optimize the positions score-wise. In fact, we might be on track to beat my own PB here just by redoing the this here. So I think we're onto something. I think it was a good call for us to start fresh, as if we were just doing this for the first time. Let's bring the clashing importance back up to 1, so we go all the way, tell the game, hey, pay attention to clashes again, and there goes our PB. We are up into the top 70. Now, actually, wait, no, we just flew past top 60. Like, we're here now. That's great. We're almost to 14k, which is almost within striking distance, the 1,000-point threshold of the first person in first on the leaderboards here. And we haven't even wiggled on medium wiggle power yet, which forces extra calculations, which, let's go ahead and do that now. Why not? How does it rank me for scores? So there's soloist scores, which is, just solo, like your own folds versus everyone else's. And then there's evolver scores, which if you are part of a Foldit group, which is kind of like a guild, you can upload solutions for other people in your group to improve upon. And so there's a separate group there. As far as the scoring system goes, the score is basically representative of how stable your protein is, right? If it's energetically stable, like mixing in a little bit of the science here, if it's energetically stable, it's not likely to just completely fly out and not fold in the way that you want it to. Then it's favorable, and then your score will go up as a result. If you really want to peel back the curtain, it's actually just measuring the Rosetta calculated potential energy of your protein, and the lower it is, the better. In fact, it's just an inverse function of the whatchamacallit. It's just an inverse function of the potential energy in whatever it is. I think it's measured in joules. So, limited understanding. All right, fair enough. Let's see. So we're up to 14k now. Let's see. Is it actually technically kcals for Rosetta? You claim that it's in kcals? Okay. Yeah, for those who don't know, Mech and Synord are here, and they actually work at, or they are part of the Institute of Protein Design, so they know a lot more about the science here. Take that with a grain of salt. Got it. Rosetta energy units. Fair enough. All right. So, anyways, just in the span of the last few minutes alone, we just went through early game and made another high scoring protein, which is great. So, also thanks for the follow. Top 50, not bad. So now we move on to mid/late game, where we just let recipes run the show, and then we still like periodically inspect our protein here to see if the recipes put something that doesn't make sense where it shouldn't. So for example, I've been hearing from our experts here that the methionine usually gets pretty excessive in Foldit solutions. So it's calculated unfolding energies for real natural proteins. Or oh, okay, experimentally determined. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. So recipes, again, they are player-made scripts in Lua, if you will, and these automate the process of finding score opportunities for your fold. They do require a good fold going to actually get started. Otherwise, if you just wanted to run recipes all the time, then you might as well be just using Rosetta at home. Recipes are inherently inherently designed to be used with like hand folding and what we're doing here and playing the game. So some recipes seek out low scoring segments of your protein and tries to throw in like different poses from other real proteins and see what fits, and then picks the best one. Rosetta at home isn't designed. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. It's only structure prediction. You're right. Structure prediction and probably like cloud computing as well. It's doing folding simulations. Makes sense. Anyways, where was I? Some will attempt to like kind of jostle the protein a little bit so that Wiggle will try to find better solutions. Mostly for the designs at the Institute. Okay, cool. And then others are used in the hand folding phase. Other recipes here, they can be used to help automate some tedious tasks in hand folding, and make things a little bit easier so that you can finish up your rough draft and then send it off to the late game recipes. So I'm gonna run Deep Remix again. Let's see, I'm on medium power. Whoopsies, tap the mic there. There's a lot of settings here. You can just leave it on default if you don't know what you're doing. I explained it earlier in the stream, so I'll probably highlight the VOD later in regards to that. But yeah, this one is one of those recipes that seeks out low scoring segments and will try to automatically put segments in that may or may not score better. As soon as it latches onto a segment, I guess. Let's see. I might have to run Deep Rebuild instead. Oh no, it found something. There we go. Also, the colors on screen might be confusing, and there's like more than one way to view this protein here. Like we can just turn on the rainbow colorings to see the sequential order of how it's supposed to be lined up. And there's many different uses for each color scheme, so there's a lot to unpack here. But again, if you guys are trying out the game for yourself and working through the tutorial, feel free to ask me any questions about the tools that you're using or the tutorial puzzles. The tutorial puzzles are notoriously janky, so they don't always cooperate, despite players doing what is essentially the right thing. It's just the numbers aren't adding up. Let's see. Also, I'm just checking messages here. Again, Foldit is a fantastic game to multitask with. I say to treat it like an idle game, except you have to solve puzzles to unlock the cap. I guess it's not like in the traditional sense like an incremental game. I guess it's sort of like Factory Idle in that sense, where you have to plan it out. I think Kitten's game is also another incremental game that's like requires more complex planning to really get the optimization going. But that's how I think is how it works here. All right. Ooh, yeah, we got a lot of points from running this recipe here. Like, the nice thing about recipe output is that it will track the gains usually. Getting gains, y'all. My watch. Okay, my watch is on. The 35 points in the bank, and we've already breached top 40. Of course, like there's still 4 days left for this leaderboard round, so you know, positions are provisional until finalized. So definitely, when you're not like actively folding, one of the metagame strategies, of course, is to just leave it on with like a recipe such as a deep remix TVDLs, and you can get quite a lot of headway sometimes when you just leave it on, and then switch recipes every once in a while to like vary the strategy. And that's how most of the veterans up on the leaderboard get their points. Let's see, haven't cracked any positions yet. I wonder if it's only like remixing these end segments here. I need to pay attention to see what the recipe is doing. And it's not doing a wiggle. Oh wait, hold on. It's on 171 to 175. So we can hit mouse over and hit tab and get like an information panel. Usually it pops up on the right here. Let's see, 171. It'll point straight at it as well. Okay, yeah, it is remixing that. Let's see, 171, 141. Yeah, it's not affecting our big helices, so that is a limitation of that recipe. Let's cancel it and switch things up. Let's use the Gab recipe. Gab just the basic gist of how it works is that it'll just generate random sets of rubber bands and anchor things together. Use mutate to, or not mutate, use wiggle to pull and things together, and then see if it jostles it into a new high score when you wiggle it back together. So let's see, if I hit home, that should. A lot of lysine. Yeah, I would agree. I'm not paying attention too much to what mutate is doing. Probably change it, of course. Jesus Christ, you are right. Like, surface residues mostly don't matter? I guess you're right. As long as they're polar. As long as they're not polar and not doing something wrong. Polar and charged. Oh yeah, I guess that's a good distinction to make. It likes the charged one better because they have more solvation energy. That makes sense. What's your explain like I have 5 explanation of solvation energy? Let me put you on the spot, Sonord. No gains yet on GAB. Living things are designed to be wet. Point taken. Oh, does it now? Interesting. Is there a reason for that, or like is that something that like high key needs to be rebalanced? Like, I'd imagine that Rosetta doesn't get, like, real-time... Well, I don't say real-time, but as much, like, oh no, it reflects reality? Okay. But I'd imagine Rosetta doesn't get as much updates pushed to it as, say, like, you know, something like a mainstream popular game would, as far as like patches are concerned. Just because, like, if you're gonna make updates, then you probably need to like compile some notes for your scientific paper, and then you gotta publish it saying we made updates, and then that takes, you know, it has hundreds of commits per day. No way, really? Where can we see the patch notes, man? Or is it like super branchy? So I guess it's not as relevant for Foldit, obviously, I would imagine. It's all on GitHub, okay. And Rosetta Commons. Okay. But yeah, I'd imagine it's like not as like quote unquote relevant for Foldit, but I mean it'd be interesting if like you're an expert in the field and you're playing Foldit and it's like, hey, what happened here? They are on separate branches, I see. Isn't on the newest stuff. Well, I mean that makes that would make sense even if Foldit was like a legitimate game, because obviously, like, I know esports, lots of esports games for competitive, they will run a few patches behind, or a patch behind to so that competitive is still like stable. And then, like, you know, maybe on the next season, then they'll run, like, you know, the next patch or something. Yo, are we making any gains here? Like, GAB is taking a long time. I think we'd see more results here. Oh god, my credit best has rubber bands on it. I might see more results here if I used random idealize. Like, at least random idealize looks cool, since we see like more drastic changes. Alright, so each, I should mention, each recipe is like, it's obviously made by like different people, and then they're worked on by different people, and then some people make updates to the recipe that aren't the original author, but each recipe has like a different output, so it's up to you to like figure out how each recipe will tell you how much it's gaining. So for random idealize, it will only post a gain when it finishes a loop of checks, if it actually does make a gain. So it'll say the current the point gain for that idealize, the total amount of points that you've gained from running that recipe, and then the number of iterations that it has done. So that's what that means right there. See, we've gained about 80 points from this recipe so far. Oh wow, it just I just realized it just ran mutate, so we gained another 26 off of that, and now that rockets us into rank 30. Oh my god, we're getting closer and closer to 15k points. So that, I guess that got us our extra like 5 or so places. I even surpassed Susume on her fold right now. Dang. Yo, watch out. For reference, Susume is like one of the veteran folders that I personally look up to. I actually met her in person at the aflatoxin launch event for the aflatoxin launch puzzle, or the aflatoxin puzzles. And you know, she makes much more use of like Foldit's advanced features than I do. And I think she was on the Foldit dev stream from earlier. So Foldit now does have a Twitch presence, and I think one of the PhD students is spearheading that. And so if you want to check out other Foldit content, they are actually starting to build a digital presence in that regard. So go check them out as well. solution. Some people are talking about on the forums here, like, an idea where everyone can have access to the highest scoring solution. But, yeah, it's like a good counterpoint to that is that some of the strength lies in the diversity of the solutions that we can generate, right? Like, I'm generating this solution just independently of other people. And so it could be something completely different to what other people are trying, and it's not necessarily the one that's going to work. So there is definitely strength in solution diversity. What does remix do? Let me pause recipes here to live demonstrate. So, and yeah, and variety is definitely key, by the way. So remix, let's see, yeah. So remix is one of the tools that recipes will typically use to brute force test like different sort of structures for your solution. So it works on a segment of 3 to 9, or it works on a chunk from 3 to 9 residues long. And what it will do, so you just click remix. You either have to like select it using selection interface. So, select that and then remix, or you can do it in original interface by just defining a secondary structure as loop or helix, as long as it's cut off, right? So like only these loops will be here, whereas this helix stretches all the way down. You just right click, you hit remix, and then it will try to find different bits of actual proteins, like actual protein structures that sort of fit the bill and are similar enough to this, and it'll try to insert it. So let's see, that one is a bad example. Let's try over here. It's also a bad example. Hold on. Remix doesn't get used much when you're like just hand folding. So let's see. Let's try that. Okay, so now it's found segments for this helix here. So you can browse through them, see what they're shaped like, and if it looks good to you, then you can pick it, and then you just hit this little X here, and then you can pick it, and then you can work with it from there. Again, you don't really typically use this in hand folding since you have recipes to automate the process of going through the remix options and picking what's best. Best example being Timo van der Laan's script, TVDL, Deep Remix. So, it's mainly a recipe tool, and you are very, very welcome. Alright. You know what, let's use Rebuild. Let's use Deep Rebuild. Rebuild does kind of the same thing, kind of more of in an automated fashion. It's actually kind of more or less the same thing as Remix, like functionally speaking. I know there are differences between them, but honestly, I don't care. So, let's see. Yeah, it'll change all to loop. I should change this to trace tube, just so it's like viewable. Excuse me. Is this getting stuck on the locked segments again? I know it's giving up on those. It's skipping a lot. 171 and 174. Where's blueprint? 145 points thanks to my tip. Yo, nice. Oh god, the frame rate is going. Let's see. That should be the correct portion to work on. I think Rebuild is quite stuck on this one. I'm gonna turn that off. So restore credit best. Let's go to cartoon view, turn on CPK. Oh yeah, I should probably move my my pins. That one's already in the right spot. This one needs to go down here. Oh, and then maybe random idealize will work better once I've set the pins like this. so that they anchor the things next to the cut point, and then we don't have to like worry about like disrupting that when we re-engage. Let me hit auto structures here to see what the game considers is in a structure, and that looks just about appropriate there. So let's turn random idealize back on. We got like 200 points from Randide. But you know what? We're just gonna call it there. So I'll leave this recipe folding in our outro there. But thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I'll hope to stream again very, very soon here. But again, Foldit is free to play, and we are working on a coronavirus solution, one of many, through this puzzle series. So please go check out Foldit! Foldit. There's the website link at the end. I will not be playing that, Ryuichi, but I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna throw you over to Marcus. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Here's all the credits. Y'all can read. I will start the raid shortly. Take care.